Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the APAT show. Well, this evening is going to be a bit different in that we have two guests on. So our first guest, Patrick Nally, created the blueprint for sports sponsorship, which has raised billions of dollars for FIFA, the IOC, and many other sports rights holders. Andy Black is going to join us from 11 p.m. Andy, of course, is the #1 Irish tournament player of all time, and he's looking forward to playing the International Federation of Match Poker's Nations Cup this weekend. Now, that's an event that we're going to discuss with both Patrick and Andy. So let's get Patrick on. Are you there, Patrick?
I am indeed.
Well, it's nice to talk to you, my friend. I think the last time we met, Patrick, we had an afternoon tea at the Landmark Hotel in Marylebone. The world seemed to be a less complicated place back then.
It certainly was. We're all now locked down, aren't we?
We are indeed. So, Patrick, of course, you are the president of the International Federation of Match Poker, and you're looking forward to a very big weekend of match poker at the Nations Cup this weekend. Now, it's going to be held online for the very first time. So, let's take a look. I've got a little promo video that I'm going to run. Here we go.
Win or lose, sink or swim, one thing is certain, we'll never give in. Side by side, hand in hand, we're all in together. Play the game, fight the fight, but what's the point of beautiful night? On and on, hand in hand, we're all in together.
So you've got to enjoy seeing poker players having a good time. That is a lot of your poker players having a good time. Tell me, Patrick, clearly we're all in this together. Are we going to be able to watch it at the weekend?
Yes, we will be streaming, but obviously streaming on a delayed basis because we've got to keep the integrity of the game and the fact that all of the players will be playing in the safety and security of their own homes. It is a little different to when we are in a live venue, to when we can have our fan fests and have everything being streamed immediately. So yeah, on a somewhat delayed basis, going to our site, you will be able to watch the action, see the leaderboards, and just see how those nations are competing against each other.
Oh, fantastic. Very, very exciting. And of course, team poker is a concept that APAT has been right behind for a long, long time, I have to say. So listen, I want to discuss match poker with you and the IFMP in particular in a lot of detail. But I want to find out a little bit more about Patrick Nally first. Now, before we do that, Leigh, I'm going to throw over to you. Why don't you tell us who's in the chat box watching on, and maybe give us an update on the numbers this evening?
Yeah, well, there's chat boxes up, see, going crazy already. We've got Jeff Talbot's in there, Joe Chilmaid, Tristan Chaplin, Steve 40, Grant Spears, Sam Razavi has joined us. Hi, Sam. He was on the show a couple of weeks ago. Mark Valentine's in there, Debbie Kim, Gordon MacArthur, Jason Kemp, Alistair Fowler, Paul Haycock, David Pilkington. Too many to mention, to be honest, Des. It's absolutely buzzing in there. The poker tonight, we've just completed the Heads Up tournament, which started at 7 o'clock. Sean Snell took the win down with that one, so very well done to him. Poker squad tonight is PLO8 6 max, 152 runners. We've got 49 remaining.
Fantastic. Well, keep us updated with any headlines as they come through. And as far as questions are concerned, guys, throw your questions in the chat box and we will get to them at some point. It may be later on in the interviews, or it may be throughout. We'll just have to play that by ear, really. But do please engage with us. Let us know what you would like to ask our guests. So, Patrick, I'm going to go right back to the beginning. You were a South London lad.
I was indeed. I was living in Streatham and going to school on Wandsworth Common, and so I'm a South Londoner.
Whoa, that's amazing. When I first came to London in, oh my God, it's probably like 1992 or 1993. The very first little place I lived in was in Streatham, Minehead Road at the top of the Common. Very nice little street it was too, I have to say.
Well, I was down off Kings Avenue on Rosebery Road, and a great place to live. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So what did Mum and Dad do?
Both of them were journalists. Well, they both met during the war. My father was a Fleet Air Arm pilot. My mother was a Wren, so they actually got together during the war. And myself and my two sisters were born just after the war from two people that obviously got together. Both then journalists. My dad then went on to Reuters and ended up as the editor of the South London Press. My mother into public relations. So, I come from a journalistic background family.
No, that is very, very cool. And I think I'm right in saying that your mum, Margaret, is remembered every year within the House of Lords.
Yeah, until recently, every year the House of Lords was a memorial lecture in her name. She was the first woman president of the Institute of Public Relations and the Press and PR branch of the National Union of Journalists. So they've honoured her in terms of having a guest key speaker each year, which has been wonderful.
And tell me, what was life like back in South London in the 50s, early 60s?
It was different. It was tough because my mum in the end was bringing us up on her own and tried to convince me that I should stay at school and perhaps do some university or something. But no, being the sort of strong-headed individual I was, I left school at 15 and became a messenger boy in an advertising agency.
Well, you went to the school of life then, because, if you started at 15 in an advertising agency, it feels to me as if that's where you've been for the remainder of your career. Would that be a fair call?
Absolutely. Best way to be taught, to learn. One of my early roles was to be the Southern stringer for the Littlewoods Pools Company.
Fantastic.
So I had that great privilege of going to tell people that they'd won the pools, that they are going to be earning lots of money. Please come with me to a hotel in London so we can look after the PR for you.
Well, in another sort of strange circular moment, I know the guy who both owns and runs the Littlewoods pools, or the football pools as they are today. It's still in operation, believe it or not. And, as with most other businesses, of course, it's largely online now, as indeed with Match Poker. And we're going to come to that. So you ended up in an advertising agency. And of course, I guess, the big moments in your career would have been founding with Peter West Nally in 1970, because you created some waves.
Well, Peter was introduced to me. In fact, they were trying to get my boss from the agency to join them to form this new PR company. My boss didn't want to leave, but was told to recommend somebody. I was a teenager, late teens at that stage. And he pointed to me and recommended that I join Peter West for this new PR agency. being an obnoxious little man as I was in that time, I thought I ought to come up with something really creative and sort of talented. And I said to Peter, well, you know a lot about sport, Peter. Why don't we use sport as a means of communication? Because, of course, then sport wasn't being used as a means of communication. So being a clever dick, I just came up with this idea that we should use sport as a means of communication.
Yeah.
And we did.
Yeah.
We did.
Didn't you just? So in very simplistic terms, I would liken this to, APAT going out and doing a deal with Party Poker. So we're the rights holder. We own the rights to sort of APAT and our members and so on and so forth, our properties. Party Poker pays us some form of fee and we work together. Essentially, you packaged sports rights to blue chips. Okay, so the sports rights, we're second to none. We're talking FIFA, UEFA, the International Olympic, of course, athletics, cricket, snooker, tennis, swimming, cycling, rugby. There weren't too many sports that you guys didn't touch back then.
No, we were obviously the pioneers. We started it. We started originally taking briefs from clients and coming up with sports programs that would fit those briefs. We then found that the sports federations had no understanding. They didn't understand what were rights. They had no organizational structure. So quite quickly, we started being very successful here in the UK. We then expanded into Australia and Canada because of English language. I then had a major client called Coca-Cola that wanted to actually change its perception as being an American drink being brought in by the American forces. And I was given a brief to see if I could come up with a global sport to where they could perhaps make themselves much more local. I created this sort of FIFA Coca-Cola development program, which was extraordinarily successful, taking the sport into Africa and Asia. And then I found out when I asked FIFA, well, how do we give Coca-Cola a big impact at the World Cup coming up in Argentina in '78? And they said, oh, well, we don't know. We don't really control anything. It's all left with the Argentinians, who, by the way, had just gone through a military coup and were being run by some very, could I call them friendly generals? Yeah,
it's a really interesting scenario. And to be honest, it's a scenario that happens every day. And my next question was going to be, what were your challenges to deliver? Because, of course, when we all get our PowerPoints out, everything looks so pretty. Whether you're a FIFA or a Coke, the vision is clear. The win-win proposition makes good sense to everyone, but delivering is often very challenging. What sort of challenges did you have in delivering the whole FIFA Coke deal in '78?
Well, this all started when FIFA was virtually a bankrupt organization. They just rented offices in Zurich. They probably had 4 or 5 staff. This is life before Mr. Blatter, because he came in later to run our program, and we recruited him specifically to run our program within FIFA. But FIFA didn't know about rights. They left it to their organizers to organize the World Cup. So I had to go again as quite a young man to Argentina just after that military coup to negotiate with the military junta to say, look, if we're going to keep the World Cup here in Argentina, you need to give me back all of the rights. I need control of the stadiums. I need to be able to pour drinks with Coca-Cola in the stadiums. I need all the merchandising, licensing. And strangely enough, we found a military junta that was obviously very consciously aware that the world was watching them. And to my absolute surprise, despite my young age, I actually got the generals to agree that they would pass everything to us, that they would take the military out and would put them all into Adidas 3-stripe tracksuits, and that they actually gave me back total control of the World Cup that FIFA had never realized they should have kept in the first place. And that really started the concept of bringing rights together to put them together for an exclusive group of companies. So in addition to Coke, I could bring in Canon, Philips, Capita Brazil, Canon. And that really was a complete change to how federations should approach their commercial partners, by being responsible, by being structured, by having agreements. And that then, as you said, led on to the Olympics, led on to tennis, led on to athletics, and it still works today.
Yeah, I have to say the key message that I've taken out of that is that you can take the boy out of Streatham, but you're not necessarily going to take Stratum out of the boy, right? Because there you were
Absolutely
up
not.
against the Argentinian generals, and you won that one. What was a key driver of change? I'm thinking TV. I mean, what helped you along the way?
TV, I think, came slightly later.
Mm-hmm.
TV then was very much the state broadcasters. So clearly back then I was working with the European Broadcasting Union. This is pre-Sky, pre-Berlusconi and Channel 5s and what have you. So it was important because commercial companies like Coca-Cola or people that had major brands like Canon, Seiko, Toyota had very little commercial opportunity to promote and brand aware themselves. So by capturing World Cups, Olympics is slightly different because they didn't have stadia signage, but branding was extremely important on global networks, which were predominantly state broadcasters. So what I created gave these companies a chance for billions and billions of audiences around the world through state broadcasters. So the corporate sponsorship side was then probably more significant. What happened then was with Sky, Murdoch, and all the changes to satellite, cable TV, then the television rights boomed, but they boomed probably 5, 6, 10 years later and took over from sponsorship. But, we were very much part of that sponsorship evolution and that broadcast evolution.
That very much that early wave. And tell me, Patrick, was there ever a time, whether just post Argentina or indeed post the World Cup in Spain, that, Coke's internal sort of accounting people looked at it and thought, this isn't paying for us? Or did they get immediate payback?
No, well, the extraordinary thing I got Coca-Cola to back me to go and negotiate with the Argentinians back in 78. I did a deal with them that in essence they would get 70% of the revenues that we would generate from the other participants, and in the end it cost them nothing because we were that successful that we liquidated the whole of Coca-Cola's cost in the World Cup in Argentina.
Fantastic.
In 78, and thereby hangs the tale. In some ways we were a little bit too successful because clearly I woke up giants and people that suddenly realized what I had in my hands. And as a young man, it was tough to sort of fight off the crowds that were beginning to realize just how valuable this could be.
Well, absolutely, because I suspect that the actual valuation of the brands themselves at that time, would have grown quite dramatically.
Yeah, it was a challenge because, again, back then, there wasn't a global budget. Even Coca-Cola, I think we had to have something like 6, 7 global workshops because all their budgets were with bottlers and with local countries. We had to change the whole perception of how companies bought global rights because they didn't buy global rights back then. So not only did we have to convince them that football, soccer was a global sport because technically it wasn't back then.
Yeah.
We also had to convince companies that they needed a central budget. So it was probably easier then to deal with the Japanese because the Japanese had more central control, central management. So if you go back to those days, the Fujifilms, the JVCs, the Mitsubishis, the Toyotas and others, that had global brands, where the American companies were more spread. They had different products, different brands. So really, it was like the Wild West because it didn't exist. We had to teach people and show people. It was fun because it hadn't happened before. But yeah, look at it. Just look at what happened. Look at the Olympic package that we were starting in Moscow in 80. I think the whole budget that we were generating was around 25 to 30 million. I think the actual ticket price to be an Olympic sponsor at top now is probably around the 300 to 500 million just for a single package. So, my God, didn't we stumble across something that
different
times,
world? Different times. Yeah. Did any of the money? Well, it's a difficult one to answer this, but did the money funnel down to what I would call grassroots? I mean, did any of the FIFA money sort of improve grassroots football? Do you think?
Yeah, it was all grassroots then because again back then. There hadn't been money. As I said, FIFA was renting offices, didn't have many staff. The funding went into the development program. So let's be quite candid. Africa, Asia weren't playing football, soccer back in those days. So just look at what that development program did to develop the sport into Africa, into Asia, into the third world of United States and Canada and Japan and Korea and Australia, which weren't football nations. So yeah, tremendous grassroots back then. And also we brought in federations and we were teaching kids to play tennis, teaching kids soccer skills,
Yeah.
teaching kids swimming. So back then, a tremendous amount of the money and energy went into grassroots development. Unfortunately, as the money grew and, money corrupts, then more and more people saw it as perhaps ways that
Yeah.
they could all earn a bit. But no, back then it didn't exist because it hadn't existed. So there was nothing to sort of fight over.
You were very instrumental in the campaigning for Joe Havilange, the presidential the president of the IOC, effectively in 1974, or FIFA rather in 1974. So being sort of involved in a lot of that money flow. I mean, did you ever see or sense that corruption?
No, I wasn't involved with his election. I got involved after he'd been elected because Horst Dassler, the son of the founder of Adidas, found me, invited me over to meet with them and introduced me to the FIFA concept and wanted me to help live up to Avalanche's dreams of running a development program, creating a World Youth Tournament so more nations could compete. So I really came in to help bring commercial support to some of his ambitions. Back then, as I said, though, there wasn't any money. So there wasn't any money to be dispersed.
Yeah.
I think he Avalanche made a big mistake back then in that what he should have done, because he became effectively a professional president because he was working full time for FIFA, was he should have paid himself a salary. But of course, as time went on and monies were being raised, then clearly people were saying to him, well, take a commission. And back then people thought, okay, I'll have a commission, not looking at commissions as being corrupt or commissions being to what people would see of it today, because it was a very different world back then, because it didn't exist. So the corruption followed later, when clearly there was so much money, lack of understanding of people. And my own view of sport is, I'm not a great sort of admirer of lots of money going into elite sport. I think money should go into grassroots. It should go into helping young people, giving everybody a chance. Sport is a great leveler, but it's got to be participation, involvement, grassroots. So I've always been very much to see that the money should go into the sport at the right level and not into elitism or into other people's pockets.
Yeah, no, quite right. And do you think that that whole corruption message, which has sort of blighted everything for the last maybe 5 or 10 years, but particularly over the last 5 years, has that had a major impact on what you might call reputable brands in terms of becoming a barrier to enter major sponsorships today? Do you think are they concerned about that?
It certainly had a significant impact because corporates have to be very aware of their social image. They have to be aware of social responsibility. And I think indeed with COVID-19, there is going to be even more of a change. I'm a great advocate that things need to change. Social responsibility now needs to become mainstream marketing and part of a marketing budget. So companies are concerned of aligning themselves with what might be questionable ethics to whether the transparency is there.
Yeah.
I have to give sport its due. It is reacting and changing because it has to. So it has to clean up its act, and people are doing a lot to clean up their acts. But I don't think things like the Olympics and the World Cup and the European Championships are still such significant events that get such fan support. They are so compelling. They're so, you look at Russia, everybody embraced, the Russian World Cup was a fantastic World Cup, and no doubt Qatar will be the same. So the event itself is bigger and more important than the individuals. So those big events can sustain themselves because they're so appealing to the mass and to the fan.
Yes.
The rest of the sports don't have that same ethos and that same ability. So therefore, yes, things are having to change. They have to respond in a much more ethical way, transparent way. And I think that sport, going back to the questions of participation and grassroots, social responsibility is going to be the new marketing for the future. We have to care about the globe. we have to care about our health. We have to recognize the issues that exist. So, I'm surprised my package approach still continues, but my feeling is we're on a wave of a complete change.
Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. So what do you think does change look like?
Change looks like a responsibility that fans, customers, consumers, suppliers, everybody has to be consciously aware of everything in terms of how it impacts on the planet, how it impacts on the environment, how it impacts on social inclusion, how it impacts on health issues, being obesity, type 2 diabetes, that companies can't market themselves in the old big brain brashness that they did back in the 70s and 80s when, I was doing all this. They now have to be very consciously aware that that brand and that brand image has to be totally responsible to the environment to which we all now live. So therefore, yes, sport has a very big role. I think less in the professional area, but more in the participation, grassroots, supportive area. And I think we're going to see a big shift in corporates really becoming global citizens and supporting sport in a global citizen sense.
So who do you think, in the sense that you were a driver of commercial development back in the 70s, 80s and 90s, who do you think will provide the leadership to ensure that vision is delivered upon over the next 10, 15, 20 years? Where will that come from?
I think it's a combination of UNESCO, which is obviously the education, cultural science, the operational element of United Nations, the international federations, be it IOC to a degree, and GAIF in terms of all the federations, the sport need to embrace this as an approach. So sport will come together. UNESCO, therefore representing the United Nations, will come together. The corporates will come together, and therefore structured. Also, I see a great role with sports management and universities so that the academics become part of it, and they will see platforms to where it won't be just a right sale, which is what happened to my package. It just came to people, selling the rights at the highest price they can, but it will really be meaningful back to, in fact, the FIFA Coca-Cola development program, where there is real meaning to achieve a real meaningful objective. And people will be looking to actually see and have analyzed and the data, the evidence that these things are doing the good things that they should be doing. It can't be just on because we say it. It has to be clearly evidence that these things are having a very beneficial effect.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very healthy vision. Let's hope that comes to pass. Tell me, Patrick, you've obviously had a tremendous amount of experience as far as organizational rights holders are concerned. Did you ever get involved with individual rights holders? And I'm thinking, everybody seems to be talking about the Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix at the moment. There were a lot of players, who almost themselves were significant brands. Did you get ever involved with individuals?
I did in the early days and got out of it quite quickly. We were very much behind before Barry Hearn and snooker. I put the first World Snooker Championships together with a whole group of tables in Sheffield many years ago, probably back in the 70s. And there was a wonderful character called Alex Hurricane Higgins.
I know of him.
And I managed Alex for some years.
You're
had
kidding.
him dressed by a fashion designer called Tom Gilby. I had ergonomically designed clothes and waistcoats, and what a character. I had Joe Bugner. I looked after Tony Gregg, the cricketer. So in the early days, Peter and I thought that, like McCormack, that we should manage individuals and promote individuals. It was a nightmare. And,
if Alex Higgins is your starting point.
I remember having to go to hotels to apologize, to get in cleaners, to get in painters and contractors, and it's a very specialist area. And in the early days with Mark McCormack, I knew Mark quite well, and obviously I totally respected. He had a brilliant organization, very much orientated, as was Donald Dell and Frank Crakel and things, in terms of representing, individual athletes, golfers, baseball players, tennis players, and it's a very specialist area.
No, absolutely.
It didn't fit with us. It didn't fit with us at all. And also then, you get to a conflict if you start representing 2 or 3 football players and things, and you're also doing projects with FIFA and UEFA. Yeah, so the answer is yes, we did, but we very quickly realized this wasn't an area for us. It's specialist, and you really need to be a lawyer.
Yes, and now you know why Barry Hearn chose several very, very clean-cut players. He didn't have to go to hotels. I'm pretty positive about that. This is an interesting one. One of the biggest sporting properties in the UK is, of course, the Premier League. Did you ever try to get involved with that?
Well, again, in the early days, we represented probably all of the football clubs to what was then in the league back in when Ted Croker was running the FA. So the signage, putting the clubs together. But we were then so much involved, with the FIFA, UEFA, creating the World Clubs Cup, concept in Japan, taking Notts Forest into Tokyo back all those years ago.
Yep.
It was difficult for us to then work aggressively at a local level. We did help Sky in the early days.
Uh-huh.
And of course, Sky made the big change, that Sky investment,
92.
into football, that whole sort of pro league development. So I suppose on the fringes, but not directly into the domestic areas of that area, because we were too spread, as you said, on all those sports at an international level.
Do you think, looking back with hindsight, is there anything you'd have done differently as far as the development of the Premier League is concerned?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. There's got to be, but I wouldn't give a quick glib answer because it's, you see, what always worries me is that the emphasis in terms of money, the money that's going to agents, the lack of social responsibility to young players. We hear of 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds earning all this money and then getting themselves into troubles and into difficulties. I don't think that the social structure, the responsible structure, it's gone too fast. The money's going in too much into areas that even, we could debate about the PFA and other things. I think that there should have been more disciplines and more social responsible elements built into it. So when they start hitting the criticism, hitting the complaints, which are only just beginning, that, this system would have been built to respond better because, they've got a big responsibility. Their importance and their influence on young people is so great, so vast. The manipulation of young Africans and others is, gets hidden and buried. But no, I think I would have built in a lot more social responsibility, social awareness, audit, and also in terms of questioning some of the ethics in terms of the owners.
Yeah, I mean, you've sort of hit on a couple of areas there that I think are particularly interesting. I don't want to spend too much longer on this, but it would seem to me that Premier League clubs supporting some of the lower league clubs is a win-win longer term. And I guess, I was going to ask you about the impact that you think foreign ownership has had within the Premier League. Are you pretty calm on that sort of thing, or do you think maybe it's not great?
It's not great. It's inevitable. I'm still a great believer that the fans should own the clubs. The fan is the club. If you look at Liverpool, look at the Kop, and you look at the passion, without all that, these clubs wouldn't exist. So, I'm a great believer that, fans should have much more say, much more influence, much more say, and perhaps even more control over to who can or can't own. But I would agree with you entirely. The sport generates so much money compared to where it was back in my day when I started these things, that really that money needs to be spread. As I said, the transparency and setting up the structures. If the sport could actually, if you just look at what goes into agents, and if you put that into grassroots, just look at the scale. Just look, it's totally disproportionate. Is that there is no umbrella that actually has some say to how that incredible amount of money should be dispersed, and yet it's the same sport.
Yes.
So really, the sport itself is being irresponsible because it's not, and this comes back to FIFA and politics and, who are the right people running the game, this, that, and the other. But when a sport actually can generate so much money, there shouldn't be problems at grassroots, should there?
No,
there shouldn't be
absolutely.
clubs going bankrupt. There shouldn't be clubs that are worrying about COVID-19 because the sport can support itself. So, yeah, if I had a chance to say refine it, take control till you're generating all this money, but make sure that money is going down to the bottom of the pyramid, and supporting those kids that don't make it. Don't just spit them out and destroy them, because, that's not socially responsible, is it?
Well, I guess the socially responsible vision that you mentioned 2, 3, 4 minutes ago, would sit very, very comfortably within football. Football needs that. Now, I've a couple of random questions for you. What sports do you think today are ripe for exploitation, if that's the right word? Maybe a word that you would have used back in the 80s, but are there any sports out there right now that you think are being represented in terms of sponsorships and stuff like that?
Well, the situation, because here we sit with what we're doing this weekend with match poker, technology has come to the fore. It's extraordinary the way e-sport is evolving and developing. Years ago, I signed a license deal for FIFA, for a FIFA game, which was just some licensing deal. It wasn't looked upon as being important, but when you see the growth of the FIFA game, the young and the participation within not just only console games, esport games, technology is changing the world, and sport has got to change and embrace technology. And that's probably in some ways why I've got involved with match poker and poker. But sports, if you take sport that I worked very closely with for many years with athletics, athletics' audience, like myself, is an age that we're all probably just about to fall off the cliff. If athletics doesn't sort of keep changing and keep embracing technology and new things, and all sports have just got to adapt themselves to the changing world, the changing circumstances we live in. I think the Olympics, unfortunately, is going to be facing a very, very serious view that if Tokyo is at a point where the pandemic means that it cannot be held next year, because although many of our countries probably by then would have got through the pandemic, there are going to be many hundreds other countries that aren't as fortunate as the Europeans and some of the stronger countries that have had the resources to fight it. What are you going to do? Are you going to host an Olympics where still there's substantial issues with athletes having to face COVID issues? So therefore, if those games get cancelled, the impact on sport financially is extraordinary. Now, will they dip into those billions of funds that the marketing and broadcast program has generated to support them? I hope so, because if they don't, I think you're going to see a lot of sports go to the wall, of the old traditional sports. But the new sports, the esports, the technology, the ones that can, react to the digital world, are the ones that will come to the future. And that's where the corporates will follow them. That's where the broadcasters will follow them. So, you've got a whole monumental shift in terms of, where the funds and resources and where the sort of reaction is going to go, which is why I'm delighted to be involved with match poker, because I'm in that category.
No, absolutely. So when we founded APAT in 2006, we put one of our goals as a vision piece, long-term vision. We'd like to see poker in the Olympics, which at that time seemed very fanciful and people weren't slow to tell us. But actually, your involvement, with the International Federation of Match Poker may lead to that inevitably at some point in future. So can you just share with our audience what the goals of the organization is?
Well, one, as you probably know, I didn't play poker, I played chess.
Yep.
So I wasn't a poker player. I resisted to wanting to get involved because, my view of poker was it was gaming and gambling. And it took me a while to be convinced of its sporting, academic, educational aspects. And Professor Charlie Nesson at Harvard, who runs the Global Poker Thinking Society, can take credit for convincing me that I was not foolish to take on the role and responsibility to create an international federation for poker. But as you said, if we want to be in the Olympics, we have to be a sport. We have to follow the lines and the things that are set out that give us the credibility to be a sport. And there's absolutely no question to what we are trying to do gives us the ability to become an Olympic sport in the next few years. Now, I doubt we'll get into Paris, but there is every opportunity that we could be in LA because, poker, let's be quite candid, is in the DNA of the Americans. But we can't, when I was first approached on this, there was a desire to try and convince everybody that every aspect of poker was a sport. Yeah. I couldn't do that because, as I got into it, obviously, there is randomness of cards.
Yeah.
Clearly, I couldn't have the randomness of cards if I'm presenting this as a sport. So I had to come up with something that actually met the criteria of sport and a team game to where people are playing the same cards in the same sequence, taking away that randomness, orientating it towards the skill and the skill aspects was absolutely the only way to go if we wanted to have an international federation, if we wanted the recognition of being a sport, if we wanted to get wider compliance and become what we've become as an international sporting federation, I had to orientate it to the sporting elements. Now, that's not to say we 100% believe, support, we're not against any other aspect of poker in the game, but if we want it to be a sport and to be in the Olympics, we had to accept that we had to take an aspect of the game to make that aspect of the game, if you like, the Olympic qualifier, because we have to go through all those stringent tests, those stringent reviews that everybody can accept that we're a sport. Now, it's taken me a long time, but we got there.
You're there. Listen.
Yeah, we've got a bit more to do, but we are there.
For our audience, Patrick, I've got a short video. I think it runs a minute, and it just explains how match poker plays out. So let me play this for the guys,
Fantastic.
and then maybe we can go into that in a bit more detail. So here you go, guys. Running now. So there you go, guys. That is match poker. That is the vision for a very, very skill-based game that has players from the same team at different tables receiving exactly the same decks of cards, effectively. Same card setups, and how you play them basically decrease your level of skill. So what sort of progress have you made in terms of getting this game categorized as a game of skill?
We have it. We're recognized. We're recognized
Fantastic.
as an international sport federation. We have 65 nations now. Now, one comment I can make to all of your listeners is my biggest challenge has been to find poker passionate individuals that support us at a national level. When I've been able to, I found Stefan Kalhammer in Germany, who's put together an amazing national federation. I've got Isadora and Mario in Italy. I've got David Tai and Raymond in Taiwan. I've got passionate people within their nations that are big in poker in a broad sense as well, but have all said, look, this isn't something that's threatening to other aspects of poker. You know, what Patrick is doing really supports the image. It helps us to go into the Olympics. It gives us another adjunct. So they help me in creating fantastic national federations. And that then helps me get into leagues, get into structures. So I need more poker people, you know, to support and volunteer. Let's, you know, here I am in the UK and I've never got round to getting a proper English federation, Welsh federation, a Scottish federation. No, Ireland, fantastic, because you could have Andy on and Finton, you know, the Irish
absolutely.
are wonderful, absolutely wonderful, supportive, been champions. You know, if everybody was in Ireland, I'd be ecstatic. So, you know, I need support from the poker community, you know, in the Caribbean, in the Baltics, in, you know, everywhere. We need passionate people that will help us at a national level, because if we're a sport, you know, we need national federations. The only way I can do that is to get, you know, passionate people to collaborate, to volunteer, to support me. But we are getting there, because we've now got software that works, and that's taken a long time, but we can now run leagues, we can run tournaments. As a sport federation, I have to run continental events each year. I have to run a Nations Cup each year. So the reason we've gone online this weekend is I can't defer us to next year like an Olympics, because we're going to have the event live hopefully next year. So the fact we couldn't play in Peru means that I have to still run that event, and thank goodness to video conferencing and, you know, bringing people together from their own homes. This weekend we have 100 athletes representing 12 nations that will be playing from the comfort of their homes, and we will play the Nations Cup. Justin Huxley, the Hux, will be our tournament director in terms of popping in and keeping an eye on everybody. We've put all the security issues together. The great thing about our game, everything is recorded. Every behavior of every individual could be watched, because not only can we see them, we can see how they're playing their hands. So we can maintain the integrity, we can maintain the fact that it's based on skill. So these are all the elements that were critical to me to present to GAFE, to the IOC, to why we are a sport. We have that recognition. And so we can now just follow the standard procedure, and we could be an Olympic sport now. There is absolutely nothing except that it will be match poker form that will be recognized as a sport. But that doesn't matter, because that benefits poker through everything.
Absolutely.
So we're not a threat, and that's the problem I've always had, is that people think that I'm trying to stop other forms of poker by making match poker something, you know, on its own. That's not true. Absolutely not true.
Yeah.
Match poker is the sport recognition. It doesn't negate any other aspect of poker.
Yeah, I think poker players are strange at times. They're very agile, but they're sort of slow to change. So awareness needs to be very high before they will change. And if they do change, in my experience, you know, it doesn't take too long to actually convince them that actually this different form of the game is pretty good. I mean, that's what I sense, and you know, certainly we will support you. We will you know, communicate details of this weekend's event and the, you know, where the stream is coming from to our members. We'd be very, very happy to do that for you. And I guess this weekend's going to be a very high profile test for you, because you know, it's out there in the public now. So of the tech, it's going to be a real test. Are you confident that you'll meet the challenge?
We're all in together. we have to be. We've got some tremendous loyal support at the national levels. We've got some great players. Andy is coming on in terms of, you know, he's experienced. He's helped us. We had a great event in Dublin. Yeah, I think, as I said, the biggest problem has been communicating to people what the real intent is of IFMP. That, you know, we're not a threat, we're part of the family, we need more family support. We have got, you know, a tremendous group of players around the world that will give us all the support that we need. As long as the technology works, I think we're going to have one hell of a weekend.
No, I'm really looking forward to it, and I will certainly be viewing myself. Tell me, Patrick, do you have a strategy in place to appeal to next-gen players? Who is this sort of new poker player coming through, this match poker player? Is he today maybe a young gamer, a 13 or a 14-year-old gamer? Or is he, somebody whose dad maybe plays poker? I mean, who's going to be your target customer?
It's interesting to see, if you look at the Korean team, they are young gamers that are coming through and with massive followings. So, the gamers are coming and wanting to and enjoying, and they understand it. But the interesting thing is we've got involved with looking at city leagues and human resources where people want to do bonding and bring people together. People are beginning to really enjoy to play match poker. We've had good-looking teenagers being extremely successful and 89-year-old amazing Irish players, in that, we are totally inclusive. We're totally open to everybody to participate, enjoy. And everybody has that competitive spirit. And I think in the past, a lot of people have been slightly nervous of getting into poker because perhaps they think, oh, it's just the money, or, is this a risk? I think we're opening up a vision to where young people have got no fear or involvement. And I think we're beginning to see a lot of people want to come in and join in, want to be all in together and enjoy just the fun of it. But then it's competitive, and we all like a bit of competition.
No, don't we just? So, Patrick, I guess in closing, I think you've suggested that the organisation can support the vision today, but you need help. You're looking for passion. So, any of the guys who might be watching this video, guys and gals who might be watching this video tonight, or who might watch it in a week or a year's time, how can they get in touch if they want to?
Just communicate through us, through our website. Baron, who's our executive director, would love to hear from everybody and anybody, that is passionate to be a volunteer to help. All the sports that we've been talking about tonight survive on emotion and passion from the volunteers. We're here to make poker the biggest sport in the world. We need your help. We need the passion. We need the involvement. We need people to help us build national federations, around the world. So, we're all in this together, as I said. So if I can get a few more to be in with us, that's exactly what we'd love to hear.
Well, fantastic. Patrick, 50 years on from founding your business, West Nally, which has made such a difference, as far as traditional sports marketing is concerned, what we now consider traditional sports marketing. It's incredible to see the passion that you still have for, developing visions and actually executing on that development. Leigh, are there any questions coming out of the chat box that we haven't covered in our interview?
I think we've pretty much covered most of it off, actually.
Excellent.
A few people mentioning things like, the kind of mental Olympics and that kind of thing, and comparing it to chess, which obviously you mentioned about, Patrick, was kind of where your background came from.
Yeah, we've had the chance to work with the International Mind Sports in terms of chess, bridge, go, drafts, which we're happy to do. But I think esports tends to be more to where we see ourselves in the alliance in terms of the technology, to the passion, to the fan fests, to data. We have you guys just love that data. When we provide all those hand logs and information, I can't believe how much they get consumed. And therefore, I think we're much, much more into esports than we are into some of the mind sports. But
no, poker players love a good stat.
Absolutely.
That is for sure.
They do. They do indeed.
I see a couple of comments coming through. Steve Munnings just says, Mike Postle, you'll need to keep a very close eye on the Mike Postles of this world because they'll be sat with mobiles on the table. Steve Forty says, people playing COD, Fortnite, FIFA are the next generation of poker players. I'd have to agree. I think that's a fairly solid vision. Simon Lawler says, any feature table, Patrick, so for the weekend, do we go to matchpoker.fed or matchpoker?
Sport.
Okay, so we'll get...
Not sport. We have the sport identification because we are a sport.
Matchpoker.sport. Fantastic.
You'll find us, you'll see the leaderboards, you'll see, as I said, a delayed stream. But yeah, it's going to be fun. No,
I'm really excited for it. I didn't see the brief from Joe, but if you still need some volunteers or helpers, invigilators for the weekend, I mean,
I think we're okay. We're okay
Great.
for the weekend, but what we do need is we need some support to get some more national federations being active. And this is absurd, but here I am sitting in Oxfordshire, UK. I tell you, Scotland, Wales, and England need some active people to support us in getting our federations moving.
Well, we've had the discussion before. I'm pretty sure we could help you with that.
Fantastic. That's what I need.
There we go. Okay, listen, thank you, Patrick, from myself and Leigh, and all of the listeners, I'm sure, have really, really enjoyed the discussion this evening. I wish you the very, very best of luck over the weekend. And a last call to all of you guys, wherever you are and whenever you hear this, if you would like to get involved, just go straight to the website. We'll put it in the comments box and offer your support. Thank you, Patrick.
My pleasure. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, Leigh, I think Turbo Millionaire, let's do it quickly. So guys, if you want to play Turbo Millionaire, then pop Turbo in the chat box, and we're going to do that in approximately 2 or 3 minutes time. So you need to be in very quickly, please.
Excellent stuff. Whilst people are getting their turbo in and getting ready for Andy Black to come on just after 11, I'll give you a quick rundown where we're at. Poker squads tonight, 152 runners. We're down to 18 now. We will put a feature table up after we've done Turbo Millionaire, Simon, because you were asking. We'll just put one up in the background to keep an eye on this. But yeah, we're down to 18 runners at the moment. It's paying top 18, so everyone's now in the cash, so well done to you all. Chip leader at the moment is Liam Pickering, with Tony Ross hot on his heels. 9 o'clock we ran the Sunday roller, got 2 players through for that, so well done to Michael Kutka and Robert Pierce. They both go through. Michael went through with 63,000 in chips, so you can qualify every day to get through to the Sunday roller. Daniel Lowe took down the first one on Sunday night for $1,300, and he satellited in for $5.50. So well done to him. And it's Daniel. Actually, Dan's put one of the first turbos in the chat box. Okay, you got a couple of minutes, guys, and we're going to get Turbo Millionaire on. Quickly rattle through that before we then get Andy Black on the show and have a chat with him for an hour or so. So get your turbos in if you want to do that. Fascinating listening to Patrick, what a life, what he's got through, Des. Absolutely extraordinary.
Absolutely amazing. And the man, if I'm not mistaken, is 73 years of age, which is a good age. He's worked hard, but the passion is burning bright within him. You can tell that, and it's to our benefit if he's putting his energies into poker, because he's never not succeeded.
No, and what I find so interesting about it is obviously there's always the argument of whether poker is is it a sport? Well, actually, it's got the luck element, and to find a way to be able to, I guess, remove the luck element in the way that everybody plays the same, or plays the same, effectively the same hand, and then you earn points based on how well you play that hand, which is you can actually compare player to player. Is just fascinating. Well, really clever.
It's a concept that I think will take a little while for players who used to play in one way to just get their heads around. But actually, in theory, it absolutely does what it says on the tin. It identifies the most skillful players in different situations. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
I mean, you obviously the one bit where you have got the variation to it is obviously you don't know how other players will play. Will play their particular hand. So you end up playing. You could get dealt aces on the in the big blind, and the player on the other table's been dealt aces on the big blind, obviously from a different country. But obviously you then don't know, the variable is then you don't know how then those players are going to play their hand. Once those cards are dealt. But ultimately, it's you've got an opportunity to really compare player versus player. I think it's it'd be really interesting to see on the weekend how it works, and get to, I've heard about it and I've read about it, but actually to be able to log on and watch the stream and see it, I'm really looking forward to.
I mean, maybe we'll show some of it on Saturday night. That could be fun. Listen, let's get our turbo winner on. Let's do that.
Winner, crikey, you're preempting that.
The winner of the random draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if we can get a caller on. Let's have a look. And here we go. Let's see. Tis ringing, tis ringing. Good evening, Daniel Lowe. Are you there?
Yes, I am there. How are you?
Very good, Dan. How you doing?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Good to talk to you again, Dan. We're going to watch out for the Welsh sort of language in this one, aren't we now?
Yeah.
You'll remember from the
I lost it a bit.
The previous time. Right, here we go. Now, 150-50, Dan, so at any point you want it, let me know. Your time will start with my first question and it will end with your last answer. So, what article of furniture is a four-poster? Is it a stool, a bed, a sideboard, or an armchair? A four-poster.
Can I have the answers again, sorry?
Yeah, four-poster. Is it a stool, a bed, a sideboard, an armchair?
Sideboard?
Let's have a look. It's a bed. Have we ever had anybody exit on the first question, Lee? You're not having enough. You're not having enough romantic weekends away, my friend. Well, there we go.
A bed, Dan. A four-poster bed. Honestly.
It's
never heard of it before.
You need to get out more. You need more romance in your life, Daniel.
Dan, you know what you want to do with the $1,300 you won on Sunday night? Go and buy yourself a nice four-poster bed. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, not a lot we can say about that, unfortunately. But well played, Dan. You're still top of the leaderboard at the moment until Thursday.
No worries. Cheers.
Cheers, Dan.
See you, Dan.
Bye.
That was a bit random, Des. I don't quite know what to make of that.
I think he was trying to help us. I think he knew we were up against the clock somewhat, and I just thought he called up just to save us, save our bacon. So let's see if we can get Andy Black on the line.
Yeah, let's do it. The chat box is going mad about he's not going to live that down for a long time. Dear, oh dear.
It's Andy Black. Are you there, Andy?
Yep.
How are you doing? You good?
Yeah, very good.
You're slightly stressed.
I myself in a bunch of scoops.
I've heard. Well, listen, let me set the scene for you, okay? You've got a bunch of sort of people listening in, so we're live at the moment. We've just put you straight on. We've had an hour with Patrick Nally, and it was fun. Now, I understand
live. That's great.
Yeah, you're live. You're in there. It's happening right now.
Well done, Patrick.
73, I'll tell you what, the passion burning in that man. You spent some time with Patrick.
He's amazing. You know, I mean, what he's done with the duplicate poker is really astonishing, you know. So, I mean, I was there from the beginning. The first one they had was on the London Eye. That's right, yeah. Which was really wild. Now, wait a second. I've got a house here in Pot Limit High Low.
Raise!
There's a low there, you know.
Detail. Listen, Andy.
Here we go. We're calling. We don't like it. We split it up.
If you do this live with me, you're going to get lots of bad poker advice. I have to say, that's the one thing.
The one you see, the one that's a bit intense is the 500 Turbo Bounty.
I tell you what I'll do. Listen, why don't I make you an offer? You might like this. You might not. My audience might not like it, but say la vie, they generally work with us. How would you fancy doing this on another night when you're not deep in three scoops?
Well, now, I can definitely do that. I just didn't want to let you down, you know? I didn't want
You would not be letting me down. You'll give me a second opportunity to advertise.
How often do you run the show?
Oh, we're on 4 nights a week.
Okay, so when's the next night that you're on?
Lee, speak to me.
Speak to you. Well, we're kind of we're going
to have to move.
So we'll have a chat.
We're going to have to move things around. Who do we have on Thursday night, Lee?
Oh, we've got the lovely Jen Mason on Thursday night.
Okay. If we could work out Thursday night for you, would you be available for us?
Thursday, same time?
Same time. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. No, I wouldn't give you. I mean, I'm actually 20th out of like 1,000 people in this Scoop 500. You know.
Hey, listen, we've probably got some of the listeners who are in the same tourney. They play all this stuff. They're playing Scoop. They're playing everything tonight. No, listen, that works for us. But I would rather have you in a position where you're comfortable and not necessarily sort of, focused on the poker and what have you. So why don't we do that? Why don't we aim for Thursday night? We'll see if we can move stuff around.
Thursday night, yeah. No, that's perfect, and I'll give you full focus.
Great,
okay?
and we're on
Right,
20%. We're on 20% of any winnings, okay?
Yeah, at least the usual deal.
All right,
Okay,
thanks,
bye.
Andy. Ciao. He's still there. So, Andy, if you're still there, just click on your name at the top.
No, he's gone. He's gone. You're good.
Has he gone? Oh, I can't see it.
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, you're good.
I just
It's
couldn't.
going well now, isn't it?
I just
The
couldn't.
second half of the show.
Yeah,
really
listen, to be honest, I'm not sort of upset at that because I don't want the guy to be feeling under pressure when he's deep in 3 tournaments, and Scoop is obviously quite a big thing, particularly if they're big buy-in tournaments. So let's reorganize for Thursday night if we can. If that works for Jen, if it doesn't, we'll move Andy to the other side of
Don't worry. We'll
the match
sort
poker.
something out. Right, let's get a table up.
Let's do that. Let's do that. And apologies to you guys.
Squads.
Steve Forty is going, so was Andy on Tuesday. So apologies to all of you guys if you've tuned in specifically to speak to Andy, but I don't think we'd have seen the best of him tonight if he's deep in 3 tourneys. And he did send me a warning earlier on, and you always play these tourneys with half an expectation that you're going to be out of 2 of them, in which case it's all fine. It's what we do. But alas, that wasn't to be the case, and I made the call. Let's just push him back.
What you all don't know is, so Andy's come on the call and he's had his camera on. We tend to not have our cameras on when we're on the call because just we don't do audio. So what you don't know is Andy Black plays poker in a sauna. Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you should say that because the International Federation of Match Poker, right? They're having their World Championship, their Nations Cup this weekend. Andy is playing for Team Ireland, and they have won it, and he has been a runner-up, twice over the last 3 years. So they have a tremendous record, takes it very, very seriously. This is the very skill-based poker. And as a little initiative, they were getting the IFMP, were getting players from all of the countries to send in videos of, where they were in lockdown. So you had, the Korean players out at a cliff top and they were showing this beautiful scene of the ocean and stuff like that. It looked amazing. So Andy does his one, and there's a picture of him or a video of him at his front door, and he says, "Hi, this is Andy Black. I'm at home." And then he turns the camera to the house facing, and he said, that's our neighbours. Their house burnt down last week, and we're going to burn every other team at the Nations Cup. It was just amazing. It's amazing. It was very, very funny, I have to say.
So what's he playing? He's playing a scoop tonight.
He's deep in 3 scoops. And he sent me a message, and I think there was an element of, I'm really hoping I'm going to be out of these things. And you could tell he would have done the interview, but, I want to do a deep interview. I want to make it a meaningful thing. I don't want it to be a 20-minute sort of, solely about the IFMP. I wanted to learn a bit more about Andy. So we'll reset it. We'll do it in our terms. And that's the way we work here at APAT. So what table?
No problem at all.
What table would you like, Lee? I'm looking at 3, 21, 22.
I was going to say 21 because we'll bring the chip leader up, I think. It makes sense.
Let's do that. Okay, let's go live. There we are, guys. What is that beeping? What is that, Lee? Because I can't see. From this view, I can't actually see our comms box. So something's beeping, but I have no idea what it is.
Not hearing anything. So Stephen Munnings is asking, what's your opinion of party poker private cash games? Well, long overdue would be my honest opinion. But to be fair, they did say, Colette did say this morning when somebody asked, well, it's what you players have asked for. So effectively, it's I think they're calling them club games, but we all know it's basically the equivalent of home games over on Stars, but it's great. So you can get on. I think they're going to be rolling out tournaments very soon as well. So absolutely fantastic. You can just get on there and play a bit of cash with your mates, set up a table, and away to go.
Fantastic. I mean, I like the sound of it, and I hope there's some sort of functionality in there that we could maybe use. That beeping is anti-black. I think it might be, Are you sure Andy's left our thing?
100%.
What am I hearing? 100%. So somebody else, you're hearing it. So Steve Munnings is hearing it as well. And you're not, Lee. So is it coming from
No,
your
I don't
side?
hear it. Yeah, okay. It's coming from you. So I don't hear it. No.
Well, I've disconnected Bluetooth, so there isn't anything else that I've got, I think.
It's not the kettle still, is it?
Hell no. No, there's no audio coming through. Steve says he thinks it's great. It's like a little sort of, what do they call those metronome things for your timing playing your guitar and stuff? But it's weird, though. It's not any timing that I'd follow.
Simon Law says it's like a heart. Are you sure you haven't got your heart monitor on again, Des?
Oh, God, no. To be honest, I needed a bit after that. I thought the first interview was quite deep and intense, but really enjoyed it. To have done two of them back to back was going to be a test. Anything could have gone wrong. So my heart's better than it would have been. Let's see. This is bugging me, though. So no, you're right. It's just the two of us. I don't get it. I'm hearing bells.
Just the two of us, yeah. No.
Listen, shall I do this, Lee? I've had a question from, I think it was Ironside. So, how did you cost him chips in 2005?
Are you going to tell the story then?
What do you think? Should I?
Tell the story. Go on, tell the story.
Well, it isn't even a story. I had a video.
No, well,
there's video. There's video evidence. So, I was there when Andy reached the final table, and I think it was midnight on. Midnight at that final table. There were 5 players left, and he was a significant chip leader. Thought we were going to do it. I was there supporting him, and I had to laugh because in doing a bit of research for the interview tonight with Andy, I watched. I went to YouTube and I typed in World Series of Poker 2005, and I found a Mike Matarazzo. He did an interview with Poker Go very, very recently, I believe, where they rerun the players' run in that particular event, right? So it happened to be the 2005 World Series of Poker main event where Mike Matarazzo went out 10th. And he lost a reasonably important hand to Andy Black, on that final table. And I watched it and I just went, oh shit, I think I might have cost Andy Black some chips here. So that's what it relates to. I'll run the video just so you get some sort of amusement out of me this evening. Let's see if I can just remove, if I do that. And here it is, guys, coming your way
now. Here's
now.
the 9-5. This is the hand I went where I lose, I think, about 2.2 million to Andy Black. As you see, I was fearless. I just raised with any 2 cards. And, back then, people they feared me. Nobody played back at me, And the only one that was played back at me were Andy Black or Joe Hatcham, and they tried to stay out of my way as much as they could because I stayed out of their way as much as I could.
Wasn't it a mistake on your part to not stay out of their way? Weren't you too eager?
Well, I did stay out of their way. I just happened to raise his blind. I know he's going to stay out of my way, and then he called, and then when he led the flop, I just felt that he had a weak jack. I think he led the flop, if I'm not mistaken, and I raised him. Right, or he checked.
Let's see.
Oh, let's see. Did he check call lead?
Comes out
I'm
with
trying to remember.
350,000.
Yeah, he checked
Andrew
call
Black
lead.
makes the quick call.
But we're seeing Matarazzo not being rocky here. This is the other Mike Matarazzo, where he can take any 2 cards and be awful dangerous.
Now it's a 10, and Black has 2 pair.
He
and
leads,
makes it a million.
so he leads on the turn.
Yeah, I think I made a 2.5, right? And then I folded.
That's half your stack.
Yeah.
Wow, is the fuse lit? Mike's going to 2 million.
All in.
And Andrew Black trying
That was the only mistake I really made here, and I knew and listen, I built my stack from 1.8 to, and if you see the tell. I mean, I was obvious he had Jack 10 when he did that, but it's fine. It was fine, You see, it's fun where people look at play with me now and they're like, oh, Mike's such a nit, and then they see this hand, right, and they're like, man, Mike was a fucking he was crazy. And I was, I'm not going to lie. I had no fear. I always put people to the test, and that's what No Limit Hold'em's about.
Yeah. And
I was always folding, by the way.
You were posturing.
Look on. I was never calling. He was kissing me, right? I'm laughing and laughing. Like I was never calling,
Right. I mean,
you see how confident, you see how like quickly, and that was my misstep. That was a misstep for 2 million.
So there we go, guys. I was the rather over-enthusiastic guy with the flag in the front row that created that tell position. That was me. You know what, Lee? I think that sound is coming from you, because when I muted your mic, it went away. Yeah,
really?
As Ironside said, saw you jump up with a flag, Des. That was indeed me. Yeah, that was indeed me. Pretty sure it's coming from your side.
I don't hear anything.
I know.
So
there's the weirdness. Could you?
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do then. I will just come off the call and come back onto the call and see if that resolves.
Yeah, let's try it.
That?
Let's try it. Donka donka. So, guys, we're just gonna have. Welcome back, Mr. Wilshire, and the sound has gone.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah, there we go. So, I think now we are good. Is this a new box or a new? No, it can't be. It was the old one. Presumably, you just joined the old one. So there we go, guys. I hope the sound is done. I hope you liked my exuberant celebration in 2005. I haven't seen that for many a long year, I have to say. So it was quite funny to see it. Yesterday, particularly when Mike Matazau states, "Oh, that's a tell there. You can tell it's a tell," because he just looked over and he said, "Shush" to the bloody audience. Detail. Right, so we have this table up, Lee. Who's our chip leader?
So chip leader at the moment is Liam Pickering with 1.5 million.
It's not like Liam to have this many chips.
Well, no, he's normally he can get this number of chips, but he normally doesn't hang on to them. But he is tonight, so this could be his night. This could be it. This could be significant media exposure.
Absolutely. We've got Martin Hadfield on there. If I'm not mistaken, Martin is part of that elite EMS crew. Would I be right in saying that?
You would be spot on.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
he is.
Martin qualified. He obviously has good boxing form. And we've got Frank Bailey on there. Dean Pearson being another of that elite EMS squad.
Yes, they're luckily Dean and Martin are across the table from each other, so we're not expecting any shenanigans whatsoever. And we've got Frank Bailey on the table to keep everybody in check, so it's not a problem at all. Really.
Yeah.
We know we've got anything too much to worry about there. On the other tables, outer tables at the moment, I say outer tables.
I like that. That's good. That
says it as if we've got some sort of big setup thing going on here. Ace is still in this as well. Yuri's still in. Debbie Roberts is still in. Jen Mason is still in as well. She's currently fourth in chips, so we'll keep an eye on those. Obviously, the biggest problem for us is how quickly these hands fly by when Des and I are trying to actually pick up on what's going on.
But, shit, is it PLO8 night?
It's PLO8
Oh,
night,
my
yes.
God.
So good luck with that. Are you sure you got the table up?
Maybe I haven't. Sorry, guys. I had it up, but I just hadn't put the screen on it. Operational details, as they say. I had to laugh at Andy Black, though. He said, "Oh, I've got a full house. I got a raise." We said, "We're playing high-low."
Was that your Andy Black impression?
Yeah, it's a generic Irish impression. I do it for myself, I have to say, as do many others.
Wrong with that. So, we're down to 13 players now. All these guys are in the money. Say the heads up earlier on. Should we do a recap on the heads up? Because it did fly by a little bit because we had 60 runners tonight, which means if you're under 64, you play effectively one less round than we did last week. So we did finish a little bit earlier than normally would be the case. But let's talk about who got into the money. So the losing quarter finalist, Michael Kushka, Brandon Stannard, Natalie Bromley, and Andy Heath. They all went out in the quarterfinals. The semi-finals was Sean Snell versus Jacob Georgiadis, and Sean won that. And Mark Purvis versus Dave Pilkington, and Mark won that. So Sean and Mark went through to the final, and Sean came out the winner, picking up $210. Mark picked up $120 for his second place finish. But yeah, I'd like to think great fun was had by all.
Very, very good. Sean has had a deep run in something else fairly recently from memory. Now, I know that could be any one of a number of tournaments because we have so much going on.
Yeah, he's been fairly consistent. Well, I'll tell you what we should also mention is that, and I did say to you pre-show about this, but tonight's tournament has seen the 10,000th entry into a Poker Squads game since lockdown started.
That's great.
So we've yeah. So I could probably even work out and tell you technically who the 10,000th name is that I've typed in. I'll tell you now exactly who that lucky person was. It was Kenneth Elliott. Was the 10,000th name I typed in.
So Kenneth will be buying us all a drink the next time we're at DTD.
At least one. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So for anyone who's...
I'll tell you what, we're going to take this an opportunity. We're going to do, whilst we're watching this play down, we've got 2 tables left. I think this has got to be a Ask Des and Leigh session, isn't it, really?
Oh, shit. No, I was gonna just tell anybody who's just joined late that, if you've joined late for the Andy Black interview, Leigh is playing the part of Andy Black in this interview. So, we didn't say it was going to be the real Andy Black. Sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you can ask Des and Leigh anything within reason.
So Steve 40 says we should start the heads up at 8 p.m. and only have 128 max. That is one option which we are considering. Give people another hour to get in for it. So that might be one we go for. You should get a prize for the 10,000th person.
Andy's just sent me a message. He said, he's really apologetic. He said, definitely won't be playing Thursday. I've got an earlier appointment, so he will not be playing on Thursday. So if we want him on Thursday, he's ours.
Well, I have an idea.
Okay. I like it. I like it already because I know the way you think.
Yeah, I have an idea.
You're going to give us another double header, aren't you?
No. I'm actually thinking.
Think out loud. Let's have fun.
Well, okay. Well, no, I'm actually thinking. I think I'd quite like to get Andy back on for the following Thursday if he's up for doing it, because I'd like to find out how the weekend went.
Okay. Yeah,
is my kind of my thought on it.
Let me have a completely. I think that's one way you could approach it, but I think the second way you could look at it. This is the way Leigh and I do business, guys. We negotiate a little bit over and back, but the second way that you could look at it is that obviously, and it was so clear in Patrick's voice that he's looking for some promotion, awareness, and good stuff like that. And post the event is never quite as strong as before the event. And, if Andy can encourage some people to go and watch it or to learn a bit from it, that would be almost better pre the event, I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. So question for you. So Ironside wants to know, Des, how do you play Ace King under the gun with 27 big blinds?
I look at a hand like Ace King and I think, oh my God, that's so pretty. It's so pretty. It has so many possibilities. 27 big blinds, I'm probably jamming them all in. You don't want to see a flop with Ace King, right? Just jam them all in, take your 50-50 at that point.
Well, how do you know it's for him? You might not be 50-50. You could be in very good shape.
The odds are only what I, choose them to be in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I found quite interesting listening to Patrick was his take on the Premier League when you spoke about that actually his feeling was that actually there should be more social responsibility as to kind of the welfare of some of the younger players and lower league teams and all that kind of thing. It was a really interesting take on it because bear in mind, obviously he's a marketing guy, and he's done high level deals and with big organizations, and actually that was his take, is actually there needs to be a little bit more ownership around.
He's very clear-minded, isn't he?
About what matters.
It'd be very
much so.
easy to think that, somebody who was doing some great work like 40, 45 years ago, doing some amazing work, and has done, of course, throughout his entire career, and is still doing. I mean, sport is now poker is now in a position where it is officially categorized as a sport as far as his version of the game is concerned. I mean, nobody else has achieved that. Well, there are lots of talkers in poker. There are lots of people who talk a good game in poker, and there aren't near as many that execute to a high level. And that's why you just have to respect the guy and his vision. And I thought, poker clearly is not his core focus at the moment, nor should it, nor is it indeed in our interest that it would be. But, he's thinking ahead. He's thinking social responsibility. He's thinking of youngsters coming up in the game. And you bet your bottom dollar on that vision becoming a reality, touch wood. My only concern is, does that leadership exist out there with that same level of passion for, investing that money in the right place?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, we will see. So for anyone just joining, I see a few people joining the stream that are hoping to listen to Andy Black. We did get Andy on briefly. He's very deep in 3 scoop events tonight, so we did the right thing and said let's reschedule for another night when he's not got so much on the line playing poker, and we can have a proper chat with Andy, because it's too good a guest to have on to not have full focus on that from both sides. So we will reschedule. We will reschedule and get Andy back on the show.
Maybe we should ask for a cards up screen share of Andy's play in Scoop. That could be fun.
Depends what he's playing. I did try and kind of have a look and see what he was playing. So we got an all-in call here. Dean's all-in, and Frank's made the call blind on blind. They've ended up chopping it. So Dean takes the high with the flush, and Frank picks up the low. So Simon asks, will we be streaming 7-card stud on Thursday? Yes, we will.
Who do we have?
That's the plan.
Oh, so we've got, So
we have, yeah.
Oh. Well, we could still do it. I mean, we could still do it.
We're gonna work. We'll
figure it
work
out.
something around it. We'll find a solution.
Super excited to have the 7-card stud on, and we really would like to show some of that. And we're also conscious, guys, that the focus of the show has become almost 70, maybe in some instances higher % about the guest and the chat with the guest. And I know that can be interesting, but at times it feels like we're not spending enough time actually just looking at the poker and stuff. And I don't think we enjoy shows as much as when we've had a great final table and we've been talking about it sort of for an hour and a half. So it's quite nice actually to do that too from time to time. John Murray says, any chance of getting Frank Bailey on the show? Absolutely. We'd love to get Frank Bailey on the show. Indeed, I'm sure we'd love to get you on, John. I think that would be very, very
absolutely,
cool.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it's coming from, but I can see Steve said, I can ask for my money back from Sky Poker. Unfortunately, Steve, I've spent that money already.
Yeah, so Joe says, any luck with the stud game on the Mac, or is it likely to be a permanent no-go? I don't think it's a permanent no-go, but I think it's just a little bit down the pecking order of development at the moment. Obviously, they've just released the new club games, cash club games, and there's obviously going to be the tournament version of that. I saw on Twitter, last week, that in response to a question that Rob was asked about short deck tournaments, and he said that is in the pipeline for Q3. So there's plenty of things on the go. I'm not quite sure whether stud on the Mac or a mobile device is necessarily going to be that high at that list at the moment, because we're the only stud game on party. So
we're the only studs in town.
Yeah. So basically, Mind you, if we start getting 200, 300 runners playing stud on a Thursday night, Simon Lawler won't be able to know what to do with himself if that's the case. But as Simon just popped in the chat and said, it's a no-go for this year, I'm afraid. I think that's pretty much the case. But we got 60 runners, I think, last week for it. Go and find a Windows laptop from somewhere. Everyone's got an old Windows laptop lying around, or somebody knows someone that's got one, and fire it up, and you find someone that you know that's got one, and you just do it via a Zoom call. No, that's probably breaking rules, isn't it, if I suggest that? But there's got to be a way you can do it anyway. That's for sure. So Frank's come back with any chance of John Murray on the show? Absolutely. So Tristan's asked Des, hey
Yes.
guys, I presume the Worlds will be postponed. Well, yeah, Des
we've already said that.
alluded to that a couple of weeks ago. Are there any possible plans to put in place where we could play events online? Now, I'm not sure whether I'm not sure whether he's referring to everybody playing a live game, but online via a Zoom call games. But
I tell you what, Lee, I think we should give some thought to having it online. I think that's not a bad idea. I have to say, Tris, we've been giving that a hell of a lot of thought, more to follow. Maybe, Lee, though, might be quite a good trick to have one of the events as a match poker event. Now, obviously, we couldn't do that on Party, but there is a bespoke app. Maybe we should look at something like that.
That'd be good.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. We're looking at the different variants and what we can do at the moment, and we are pushing the guys at Party. We really are pushing the boundaries on saying, well, can we do this? Can we run this? And trying to understand what the options are for us. And they're obviously under a lot of pressure at the moment with so much going on. But we're all working together on finding a solution.
And you can see that, guys, in even with today's announcement of the private games, that is just another item that has been on their roadmap for quite a period of time, and I'm sure there are other things that will be released later on in the in the month, or in mid next month, or whenever it may be that they do their regular updates. They are working on stuff all of the time, and believe me, I'm sure the World Poker Tour and the various other major tours would like those additional games as well. So as soon as they come, and they will, you will be amongst the first to know. Tris Chaplin says, only 30 minutes of birthday left. Can Des Duffy send me a virtual beer, please? Well, I don't know if I can send you a virtual beer. I did give Joe an image of a cup of tea last week, and I'd be happy to put an image of a beer in your news feed, Tris, with a very big happy birthday from me. I hope you had a lovely day, my friend.
Yeah, happy birthday, Tristan. Always difficult lockdown birthdays.
It is indeed.
It's just a little bit tricky. All in the call here, and it's Martin against Liam, and I think Martin's going to scoop the lot there. No low, so he does, and it's just the pair of queens is good enough. So hi to Danny Strange, who's joined the stream. Hi to Natalie Bromley. Any of you that are just joining in late, hoping to tune in to Andy Black. He's run super deep in 3 scoops, or at least deep in one of them, and still going in 2 others. So we have done the right thing and postponed, and we will rearrange a chat with Andy and sort that out and let you guys know when that's going to be. But good luck to him in those scoops. That scoops turned into like... similar to what was happening on Party, where they keep adding more events, don't they?
Well,
it's just never ending.
It's and you'd wonder if it's the right thing to do. I mean, from a business point of view, if the demand is there, then it sort of makes sense. But it can also become a bit sort of tiring if you can't see the end in sight. But,
yeah, it's difficult to know. I mean, I said to Des earlier on, today seems to be the quietest day I've seen on Party Poker for about 8 weeks. I don't know whether that's a combination of some people going back to work, and it's half term, and it's nice weather, and it's just coming off a bank holiday weekend, or it's just a general little bit of tightening up on what's going on, or people are now realising the shops are opening in a couple of weeks' time, and if that actually happens. What's your take, Des? Do you think that's it? Everything's going to open its doors in 2 weeks' time? And
Well, it seems to
3
be.
weeks' time.
It seems to be inevitable that it's going to happen, and I guess there'll be a a red list of businesses that won't open within the same time frame. But it seems to be getting there. And I have to say, when you set your foot outside of the door and you go to the shop for a loaf of bread or whatever, it's pretty damn normal out there now. I mean, you have to maintain your social distancing, and we've been trained in that now, and within reason, I think that's doable. But it does feel to be getting back.
Do you? So, what's your take on kind of the public feeling towards all the kind of Dominic Cummings stuff?
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. But I'm not. I'm sick of Cummings doing what he did. I'm sick of all of the negativity. Honestly, just get on, people. Get on with each other. I mean, it seems to me that it's all about scoring points these days. I'll score points on you. You find a way to score points on me. Honestly, it's disheartening. Is what it is. I'd hate to be in the States because it's a much greater problem over there. But all of the point scoring, honestly. I mean, did you see the 50 journalists that, just gathered around the guy when he came out of his door? And I think he seems to be a really nasty piece of work, I have to say. But he's probably capable. And he's clearly egotistical. But, I mean, talk about being hypocritical. 50 journalists sort of literally on top of him as he walks out of his house. It's just insane. The whole thing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So, Ace has just mentioned, talking about Scoops, great run for your boy, Ben Burnhill.
Well
today.
done, Ben.
So the main event, Scoop, didn't work out so well for Ben, but he then satellited up into the $530 bounty tournament and is now in day 2 for that. So already got $960 in bounties and $1,053 locked up. And so we'll be back tomorrow. Well, he says 33rd out of 90 remaining from 1,816 runners.
Wow. Great.
So that's pretty impressive.
Good lad.
Yeah. So that's the 8 max progressive priority with 750,000 guaranteed. So good luck in that, Ben. So Simon Lawler says he must have some dirt on Boris.
Well, he may have, but that just goes to what I was saying, really. It's all about point scoring. So frankly, it's just disheartening.
So this is all tightened up. We've lost one player so far. Konstantinos Sotirakos is busted in 12th place. So he's actually played quite regularly squads games. This is his 17th squad game.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, new to APAT, so...
Great news.
And Dean's finally got his double up. He's got his chips all in a couple of times and has ended up chopping it up. I think the past 2 times went back with about 108,000, but this time he's finally got his double up. And so is back up to 237,000. Now blinds are 20,000 and 40,000, so he's really only got 6 bigs and raises it up. Liam's still chip leader, so it's raising into the chip leader who'd limped under the gun. And Liam's going to re-raise, and it's a call by Dean, and the queens are going to be good for Liam, and there's no low either. But yeah, for Dean.
Was Dean looking for the low there, Lee? Because he didn't have
he had a low hand.
High.
Yeah, he had ace 3, but obviously it just once the 3's hit on the board, that kind of counterfeits any chance of his with his low. So he couldn't actually make a low there. Unfortunately, too many 3's on the board for him. So he's bust. And Jennifer Mason joins the.
Speaking of the devil, we've been joined by the lovely Jen Mason.
Yeah, so she's joined the table. Jen's with us on the show on Thursday. To discuss Simon Lawler's stud play, basically. That's the reason for it.
I hope we're paying her well, Lee. That's going to be some task.
Oh right, hang on then. So I might have got the Ben thing ever so slightly wrong.
What's happened?
That was it. That was the post that he put on the day before. Which I picked up on. Apparently, he's ended up finished. It's finished tonight, and he's finished 16th for the $7,000.
Holy what? That's amazing. Well done. I wonder what was up top. If you were getting $7,000 for 16th.
This is what goes of trying to search for these things on Facebook on your phone.
Absolutely.
Because the last post, has he not posted it? Ah, right. Now I just went for the top post, but actually there's. Oh no, that is the top post. So he's not even bragged about it yet. Okay, fair enough. Oh, he's such a nice lad. He's not even, he's
comes from good stock, Lee.
Yeah. So so I was reading what he posted yesterday about it. So he's come back today. Well, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. 16th place finish for 7K is fantastic. Well done, that lad. Well, I'm sure he'll buy his dad a nice present. Yeah.
Can you buy me a poker player, please?
So it's all fairly quiet here. Dean went out in 11th. 2 tables of 5. This is normally a little bit livelier. This Omaha High Low.
Yeah.
It's been quite cagey. So Steve 40 posted up in the group earlier on. He's desperately after some lessons on how to play this game properly. If anybody fancies doing that, we can actually now set up rooms within the Facebook group, and you can kind of video chat in there, similar to kind of Zoom style setup. So yeah, maybe if somebody wants to do a PL08 crash course and is prepared to spend maybe 20-30 minutes talking through kind of the key strategic decisions you need to make in playing the game, then I'm sure there'll be plenty of players that'd be quite interested in listening to that for 20 or 30 minutes. That's what the community's all about. So if somebody wants to do that,
I would also, I'd have to recommend Pete Wigglesworth because, on this show, I think a week or so ago, and his qualifications are clear in PL08. He's a very sound player. He mentioned that he was interested in doing that sort of stuff. Now, I don't know whether he'd need a small fee or not. I really don't know, but he's easily contactable, Steve, if you're looking for some good solid lessons.
So Martin gets his chips all in, and I think it's a fairly sound call from Jen actually, because she's I think she was double suited with some good connecting hands. She had 9-10 5-2, so it's not the worst hand to make the call with, and is getting value to do that. But Martin doubles up. So Steve 40 says, "I love Pete." Oh.
He's got a twin,
Who has?
Pete. Didn't you know? Repeat.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I shouldn't have removed that little sort of trombone. I think that was definitely a trombone moment there.
You've used up all of your sound effects.
I have. How about this one? You like this one? Are you ready?
I met Andy the first day he ever walked into a poker club. He walked into Merrion Square looking badly in need of a wash.
Now all this to come when we do actually get Andy on.
No messing, straight in there.
So actually, Simon, this is why we've got great people that listen to this show. So Simon Law, why do we not think of this? Yeah, just listen to last week's show on YouTube.
That's a good point.
And you'll get all the PL08 tips you need. And actually, if you listen to the one from about a month ago, when Pete was also on a Tuesday night when we were doing Omaha as well, that's another good show to listen to as well. Free advice. So Martin finally succumbs to the big stack of Liam Pickering. The chips all went in on a 6-7-10 spades board. Liam had Jack 5 of spades, and there was no low. Unfortunately, very unlucky actually for Martin, because he had ace 3, so he was drawn to the second nut low, but it wasn't to be. So we've all of a sudden very quickly we lost Debbie Roberts on the outer table, and Michaelo Doronin as well. So we're down to 7 players now, which means we're playing hand for hand for the final table, and all the glory that comes with that. So we are looking to get some additional tournaments in. We've taken on board what you guys have said about the weekend and the Sunday roller. So we're going to look to put some extra Sunday roller satellites in on the weekend in the afternoons. Hopefully we'll get those in time for this weekend, and look to just add to your opportunities. And we're also going to try and get a turbo one at 6 o'clock on the Sunday night, which will be half the clock to what we're currently running at the moment, but you'll be able to finish that in about it'll be about 50 minutes, 51 minutes, something like that.
I'd play that. I would play that.
Yeah, so pretty much you can literally play that turbo at 6 o'clock, play the 16 levels, you say in about 50 minutes, and then 10-minute break. And if you've got chips, then you'll be in for 7 o'clock. So we're gonna get that in as well.
So it's like playing the 16 levels as you would normally play the last level. Fast and Furious.
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
Love it.
Yeah.
I
So
think
we're looking to
popular.
do that as well. And of course, the other thing, we've made all of these freeze outs, and obviously, APAT, we've always been about, a kind of a freeze out, and we don't want to be a situation where people are firing multiple bullets at individual feeders, because I think we've got enough feeders during the week. But it is one, we're always open to listening to what players feel, and whether they feel that actually, if they're going to play one of those feeders and they bust early and they still within the the buy-in, do we allow maybe one re-entry on those $5 feeders, or are people quite happy with them as just being freeze outs, and you go and play another one at a different time or another date? Open to hear what people have to say. That's for sure. Now, there's no APAT cash games at the moment, Steve. We've been given the option of putting a APAT cash table there if we want to. The difficulty, I guess, is finding enough players to want to come and play at a particular time. That's always quite difficult. And what I think we're finding at the moment is a lot of groups within, APAT can be groups within groups within groups, in the APAT community. And we know that a lot of those groups have got their own, you would normally play home games, or they'd be playing club games or pub games or whatever it might be. And obviously they're all doing their own kind of little thing as well at the moment. So if we felt there was demand for it, then ultimately we could very easily put an APAT cash game on. The difficulty, I guess, is finding the right limits and then a way of getting people together to want to play at a particular time. I'm not sure how straightforward that necessarily would be. Yeah, I agree, Simon. If we're going to make it a turbo, then if it was me, I'd reducing the time banks for the normal ones. But I did mention that when Glenn was on the show on the weekend, that it was my little pet hate of playing these the feeders in the phased event. It's the only thing I don't like about them is the fact that people do time banks so much towards the end. That Carl Pilgrim was doing it the other day. I saw him. Doing it. Yeah, he was just taking a little bit longer than I know Carl needs to. Yeah, because he also decided he had enough of a stack.
Do you know?
He's gone through with Carl went through on Monday night on the 9 o'clock one with 53,483.
Fantastic.
So he was quite happy with that for his $5.
Do you know, he told me he was talking to Emma this morning. She was really, really angry with him. So he put a cape on her and she became super angry. It's not mine. It's not mine. I'm just the conduit through which it flows.
Yeah. So Simon's asked, can you run heads up in anything other than No Limit Hold'em? I tried. I nearly got it through. They agreed to it, and then they came back and said, actually, we can't do it. Because my original schedule on Monday and Wednesdays was going to have a pot limit Omaha heads up and a PLO8 heads up, and I'd got it through, and they came back and didn't query it. And I thought, oh, we're in here, brilliant. That's awesome.
We're having a chat
And
with
then-
the guys on
yeah.
Thursday, aren't we? We'll
And then we
bring that one
found out. Then they said no. At the moment that's not doable. But again, it's all these things we know. The combinations are all there. It's just a case of them getting them set up, and then they've got to test them and make sure everything works. And we are asking the questions. That's for sure. That is for sure. Yeah, so Steve 40 got through as well on the same night that Carl did. Steve went through with 40,578
Excellent.
chips.
Good shape. Good shape.
So, which is plenty for him, I think. Nye Venables got through that night as well with 40,000. Dave Amos got through with 26,000. I think 26,000 is plenty for the Sunday night. If you ask me, so Neville Harrington that finished second
He was at
on
25
Sunday
or
to
so,
Dan
wasn't he?
Lowe. He had 20. He went through a 25,000 on Sunday night, and ended up finishing second for $900.
That's all right.
So,
That's all right
yeah.
for your fiver.
Yeah, no, not going to complain about that at all. So these guys are playing hand for hand. We were on the table with 4. The other table's got 3 at the moment, whilst we play down to a 6-handed final table. If I'm Liam here, I am making the most of this this kind of bubble situation for the final table. And he seems to be getting involved in a lot of the hands. That is for sure.
It's pretty cautious there.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a huge chip lead, really. He's got nearly 2.6 million. The next player is from Russia, and that's all I'm going to say on that. And he's got 1.6 million. So, and then after that, it's Asa in third with 882. So, actually, he's just picked up a few now, so he's just get closer to 1 million. But yeah, so Liam has got a reasonable chip stack compared to everybody else.
Aptemi. Probably.
Sorry?
It's probably only 3% of the way there, but Aptemi, don't you think?
You'd probably find it's Bob.
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously, only 3% of the way there.
This is where I need Dimitri to kind of. But see, you do the same thing as I do. So obviously, I type these in. So I have to go with what I've. The best thing I've come up with so far is typing what I think the letters are.
Yeah.
So at least I've got a record of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm very aware that it's something completely different, and I genuinely am concerned because we love all these players that are joining and playing, playing APAT, and a lot of them are now regularly playing. As I mentioned, Konstantinos that finished 12th has played 17 games.
Yeah.
On Saturday night, Alexei that won the PLO on Saturday night has played every PLO and PLO 8
Fantastic.
We've done on squads.
Love it.
They're the two games he comes along and plays.
Yeah, love
which
it.
is fantastic. That's what you want. So Simon Lawless reckons Artem. It could well be Artem. That's a good shout.
Could be.
That is a good shout.
Have you tried? I mean, I'm sure you've tried downloading sort of a acrylic keyboard set. Have you looked at that?
No, well, the problem is
you can
download
keys.
it, but you don't have the keys, which means you're then
so.
second guessing everything. And unfortunately, the best way to record all of these results, so I'm going to give you guys a bit of insight into what we do here, is we literally type all of the names in every night.
They know, Lee. They hear you. They hear you in the background.
Yeah, they hear the clicking. So that's because that's the quickest way we can get results done and get them back to you guys. So that's what we do. We can wait for Party to give us a download, but it'll be the following day, and ultimately on a Sunday night. Crikey, who wants to be waiting to find out who's won?
Got to know.
No, got to know. So, ultimately, that's what we do at the moment. So,
were you testing a bot tonight? Maybe that's what the beeping was. The bot typing the stuff in. Beep, 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 beep.
We can't afford a bot. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. Des has promised me a PA at some point.
That's right. You have a better chance of getting a bot, but it's going to probably look like a really cheap T-Rex from Toys R Us.
Yeah, so Ray's here from Liam, and Jen's all in. I can't see Liam not calling this. Yeah, exactly. He does make the call, but it's going to be a chop. Jen takes the low, and Liam had hit the straight. So they chop that one up. Yeah, Alexi is Chris Alexander's mate. Yes, Simon, you are very, very correct, very astute.
This time, 2 years ago, I was in Kiev.
Were you really?
Yeah. Yeah, we lost the football. But we survived.
Well, that's, nothing wrong with that.
No.
I was quite interested in Patrick's view on, the kind of talking about the World Cup in Russia and talking about Qatar as well. Very, actually quite positive about these things. Obviously, it got a lot of negative press.
Interesting. There was
his take that is that, well, no, it'll be a success and it'll be positive.
Yeah.
And it'll do the right things.
I think, again, that shows you a bit the man's character, because Patrick was a supporter of the Japanese bid for 2022. So he was a part of that whole process. And so he would probably have been quite shocked on or maybe he wouldn't have been shocked, but, he was certainly supporting the Japanese for the 22 bid. So for him to be coming out today and, and being in support of the Qataris, I think that just shows how mature he is. And he's quite right. I mean, Qatar will run a wonderful tournament. Of that, I've no doubt.
Goodness me, Steve Forty's offering to wear a short skirt. I don't, I'm not quite sure, So, yes, as Simon Lawler says, that journey to Kiev, yes.
It's what memories are made of, Simon. What memories are made of. I will never forget it.
So players are on a 5-minute break as we are 5 to the hour, 7 left. We're on the final table bubble in this Tuesday night squads game. So let's have a look at the quick look at the state of really. We're 2 tournaments in, and who do you think's currently top of the team leaderboard?
Eat my stack.
Eat my stack. Yeah. How are they doing that?
I just think we'll need to test them. We'll need a urine test in the post.
It is starting to get a little bit crazy. Super consistent. Because the point is it's these are 150, 200 run tournaments. 7
So listen,
nights of the week.
Listen,
it's so impressive.
They're doing incredibly
so
well.
Impressive.
But we've seen this before, haven't we, with the D-Gens? So they were massively consistent, didn't quite get a win, massively consistent over 4 to 5 weeks. So, EMS might hang on to it for another week or two, but inevitably things will change.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, up there at the moment, club are very important. D-Gens, they're up there as well, as they regularly are. BCPC, who are always seem to be up there. Saints and Sinners are back this week to full effect. They've all been playing all the games so far. Blue Blooders are having a good start to the week as well, without actually going massively deep in anything, but just again consistent in what they're doing. So. We'll see how it all pans out.
How has Steve's new group started out? Twisted Towers? I can't remember. What are they called?
They're the A team.
Oh, it was a merge. That's right.
Yeah, there was a whole merger thing going on there. So,
have they got through the sort of transactional process?
No, I think they're still coming to terms with the with where they found themselves now. So.
Steve says the new team is up for the fight. Good. Because nobody else can stop Eat My Stack.
I was going to say he just needs to get all 4 of his team all playing. That would help. So that's for sure.
So Lee, I guess the big question is: are we going to win the sort of table closure lottery tonight? When we go down to 1.
With what? Sorry.
The table closure lottery.
Oh yeah, whether you're on the right
table.
You might be good. So can you do a May table at the end of? So there's been a lot of discussion in the past week. I
Months,
see what
yeah.
your view is on it. Des, is about this turning it into a monthly league rather than a weekly league. What's your thoughts on it, Des?
Well, I tell you what, rather than listening to me, because frankly, I don't count, why don't we get Frank Bailey on the show and ask his view? Now, I know that might sound like a random thing, but I know what I'm talking about. Let's get Frank Bailey on the show. Oh, am I doing it? I can do it. Hold on.
You can do it. Yeah. You go for it.
I've learned new skills tonight. And in 50% of the times, they work.
If it starts beeping again, though, we know it's you, yeah?
Hello, caller. What's your name and where do you come from?
That worked well.
Are you there, Frank? Oh, it's ringing. Oh, right. It's ringing.
Yeah, you learn it. This is training. Yeah.
Hey, Frank.
Hello, Frank.
Oh, he's got all sorts of sounds coming out of his voice box thing there. Are you there, Frank?
Hello, caller. What's your name and where do you come from?
Oh my God, that was like about 30 seconds ago.
On the background, yeah.
Frank Bailey calling from the Irish jury.
Frank, can you really good to talk? Can you turn down the volume on your laptop?
Hold on, I'll turn it off. Sorry, yeah, I have it now. Hi guys.
Hey, how are you?
I can't hear you on the phone.
Is it turned off though, Frank? Is it gone? Your sound?
That's it. Now I can hear you now, Des.
Ah, perfect. There you go. There you go. How are things, Frank?
Things are going well tonight, especially because I'm hoping to get to the final table anyway.
Well, I can't believe I got a little message from you that said, "Hey, Des, if you want somebody to come on, I'm happy to come on and have a chat." So that's very decent of you with the final table bubble effectively playing out.
Yeah, no problem, Des. No problem at all. I enjoy listening to you 4 nights a week. Anyway, never miss it.
Well, we love you being out there sort of listening and contributing. Now,
Frank,
listen.
all I would say is don't, if Des says shove it all in, don't listen to him, all right? Do not
I would never
listen to him.
I would never listen to me. Never listen to me.
I'm only learning this PLO game myself. Well, I've been playing it now for about 5 years. I still don't know it, so...
Well, listen, Frank, I get tempted, so we only had Andy Black on the call for about 90 seconds, and I told him to, raise and re-raise within that 90-second period, so don't listen. But Lee has a question.
Well,
Lee has a question.
Yeah.
He has a question for you, Frank. Lee, repose that question.
Oh, the question. Oh, yes. So there's
Monthly,
been a bit
right?
of discussion. There's been a bit of discussion in the past week about whether we should turn this league into a monthly league rather than a weekly league. So, what's your take on that?
I wouldn't think that'd be a good idea myself, because it would drag on too much, and then when players or teams aren't in contention, they'll drop away and the numbers will drop away. So I think you have it right at the moment for the week. I think that's absolutely perfect.
That would be my view.
That's my take on it as well. Ultimately, you need to keep people interested, and that works by them being able to play for a week. And if it's not gone well for the week, or even if they just can't play much in that week and they just want to dip into a couple of games. The reason we set these up as we did was always, I genuinely, I'm in awe at the list of players that have played every one of these, because it was never meant to be play everything. It was meant to be we knew people would have other commitments and other things going on and times, but it's great that if everyone can, but also it's great if you can just play when it suits. Yeah.
That'd be my view.
I don't know where I stand in that. I think I know you mentioned a few players there the other night. There's some guys that haven't missed a game yet. Is that correct, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very, very true. Yeah. We're up to, let's see now, where are we now? We're in week. So tonight is game 51. If I've got that right, I think it's game 51. Yeah, that's right. So players that have still in have played all 51. So Steve Healy, so Adelaide Bull, has played 51. Jeff Talbot has played all 51. Pete Wigglesworth has played 51. Ken McBride, which is Ken McBride's brother, changed his name for whatever reason. So yeah, he's played 51. Peter Monroe has played 51. Who else have we got? David Baldry has played 51. Sophie Clark. Have you missed any, Frank? Or
is there a guy called Frank there? Not this somewhere.
Well, I've not put your name in for this because you've not exited yet the tournament. You see, Phil Coles has played 51. So it could be. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just sneakily, temporarily put your name in, and then I don't want to box you in 7th place though. Now, I might be putting you in 7th, and you not being 7th.
We're down to 5 left now.
We
just lost Jen.
So we hit the final table. Yes, you would be 51 at 51 as well, Frank.
That's incredible loyalty. Well done, Frank.
Yeah.
And why, Frank? I mean, seeing as you're one of the 51 club, shall we call it? Why every night?
Well, I've just recently retired from work, number one, and I know there's not many people. I have more time in my hands now. And I've been doing a lot of work around the house, especially at the back garden today, getting plenty of sun on the top of my head with great hair. So plenty of time in my hands, and I've always played APAT when you were on other sites, when you had your online tournaments and all. I always played them. So
absolutely.
I think it's great to have it now every night here. It's something to relax and do,
Yeah.
Especially when you make it. I'm on the final table here, which is great,
So without giving too much away, you're sat directly opposite Liam Pickering with 3.5 million. That's quite an impressive stack at this final table, isn't it, really?
Yeah, but I heard your comments earlier on there about half an hour ago that you can blow the stack fairly quick. Is that right?
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah.
You can't say anything on here, Lee. People are listening.
Crikey. Yeah. They're actually taking us seriously, Des. I'm slightly worried now. It's just,
So the APAT, the question about what I'm doing, I'm retired and plenty of time in my hands, but not during the day. I don't play poker online during the day at all.
Yes.
Yeah. I try to keep it to up to after 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock after dinner time sort of thing. Then I can sit down and relax. So.
Yeah. You and your good lady Frank do a lot of traveling. A lot of nice holidays and stuff like that. Presumably you're missing that right now, but she's having missed maybe a holiday sort of over the last few months. She's obviously very comfortable with you, taking the evenings just to get a little bit of time on your own.
Yeah, well, no, she's just sitting opposite. She's just
perfect.
She doesn't know I'm on the phone to you lot, So yeah, she's very comfortable. She used to go to all the. When we started off first, remember the Sky Poker Tour and all that?
Yeah.
I did a lot of those for a few years, as you know.
I remember that well.
And she went to a lot of those tournaments, but she doesn't know the game, and it's a little bit, she's not the type of person to go out. We were in Edinburgh, we've been in Aberdeen, we've been to Belgium, and but if she doesn't know anybody, she won't. She's not sort of a person who will go out to the shops on her own in a strange city,
Yeah.
And to go to the casino and watch me playing is probably boring for her, if she doesn't know the game,
Oh, you're a lucky man, Frank. You've got a loyal partner there.
Yeah.
Living the dream, right?
Yeah. Married 1973, so how many years is that? 40-something, 40...
Holy crikey, that's a lot.
47, isn't it? Yeah.
Wow.
Is it 47?
Your wife is not only understanding, but she's incredibly patient as well.
You've met Bernie, haven't you? Yeah. You've met her.
I'm sure we have. Yeah.
Oh, wow, huge pot, pot brewing here, and
Yuri's all in.
Got all his chips in, and it's going to get chopped.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Which it does, yeah. So.
I don't want to be one of these guys who are talking to you and go out when I'm chatting to you. No.
We can change that, Frank. You just.
I've got every confidence you're gonna. When you find your right spot here, I've got a feeling there's a double up coming. I really do.
I haven't been taking any interest in this game since we've been talking to you.
Maybe we're saving you, Frank. Maybe in fact we're saving you here.
Yeah, I'm just realising down to 302,000.
So I mean, I know some of the people on the phone here might well be, listening to this, so I don't want you to give away, too much of your kind of tactics in this situation. But are you just in a situation where you've got just under 4 bigs, haven't you? So it's just a case of looking for a spot with a pretty-ish hand and saying, okay, I'll take my chances there.
Well, I think Asa McGrath next to me is just waiting for the chance for me to go all in. I think if he had a decent hand, he'd be calling me anyway, So,
yeah,
that's exactly right, Lee.
Yeah. And then hopefully you can get a bit, if you get the double up, you can get a bit of momentum. Well, it could be this hand, depending whether, I've got a feeling one of the other big stacks is probably going to raise into your big blind. I'd be surprised if they didn't, but it looks like you might. Goodness me.
I didn't fold there.
Did you not?
No, I didn't push any. Oh, I know what it was. God, I was
timed out. To auto fold, maybe.
Yeah, it was timed out. It was on. It was because I hadn't played a hand.
Listen, Frank, go.
Oh, hang on.
There we go.
Called by Asa. And it's chopped up.
I was just going to say, listen, Frank, go back and concentrate on your tourney, because I don't want to impact you in any way. I'm sure Lee doesn't either.
No, I'm perfectly happy to sit here.
You sure? Okay.
It'll only be another. If I don't double up short, I'm going to be out anyway, So if there's anything you want to ask me, go ahead, guys. Yeah?
How's the family?
Sorry?
How's the family?
Oh, yeah. Well, my 2 lads used to play a lot of APAT games as well.
But that, absolutely.
Matthew won.
And Damien, right?
And Damien, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Damien has lost interest in poker after getting aces all in against a guy in the Fitzwilliam on the APAT game on the Ireland first hand. And that put him off completely. Jack 9, your man had it. And your man got there anyway. So he's gone off poker big time. But he still shows interest with me playing, but he doesn't play himself, And then Matthew, he got married there a few years ago, and that sorted him out, as far as poker goes.
That's fair enough.
So John Murray says Frank's wife is very tolerant. He even played squads on his wedding anniversary. Is this right, Frank?
Chances are, if you were married in the last 2 to 3 months, probably were.
I'm
but that's
slightly
fine.
worried that John seems to know more about
He does.
Hold on.
He's your stalker.
We were married in May, so
that's this month.
That'll be about right then.
Oh, that's
I don't know where
fantastic.
he got the information from, but anyway, he got it from. Oh yeah, he probably got it on my Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah, you can have no secrets. No secrets these days, Frank.
Can you get John Murray on his phone here, and we'll have a chat about things?
I can. I'm sure we can. Let's see if we can dial John Murray in.
He's a man for talking, isn't he? He can talk.
Oh, well, he has 1 or 2 things to say. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
See if you can get him on there. See if he can come on.
Let's see if we can get him on. And I'm a bit worried that you really are down onto a big blind and a tiny bit here now, Frank.
Yeah.
It's going to be going. It's got to be going in a hand or 2. That's for sure.
I'm slightly worried that anyone sort of coming into this stream late will be asking themselves, which one of those 3 Irish guys is Andy Black?
Well, at least you have an Irish guy on, and maybe it's not as good as Andy Black, but you have somebody Irish on, and you might have.
Too right. Johnny Murray, are you there? John Murray, are you there? Speak up.
Frank's got to be all in this hand, I think. I can't see him folding his big blind and leaving himself 2,500 behind.
Too right. He's all in. We'll see the exit.
No, we're going to see the triple up.
Well,
we're seeing
6-2-4 could be that sort of hand. You could have a piece of that.
All over this. He's got 3-5.
He's up against
3-5.
He's up against 2 players though, Lee, in PLO8.
But they're actually raising in, so they're obviously pretty strong.
Oh, he's got a 2. No.
Ace
Done
6
for him.
for the 2 pair, I think it was.
Done for him.
Yeah, unfortunately. John came and went. I don't know what happened. He was on the call and then
wasn't happy with the quality of the conversation, I think.
It's perfectly understandable. Yeah.
Well, Frank's no longer in, so we can bump him now as well. His value to us has dropped dramatically.
So, Frank, are you missing live poker?
To be honest, I am and I'm not. To be honest, I mostly play online, you know. But the only live games I play is the APAT tour, you know. And I used to play a lot of live, as you know, with Sky Poker. I did the Sky Poker tour for about 5 or 6 years with yourself and Tony Kendall and.
That could be the APAT tour back then. The same thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, similar enough. Yeah, but I miss Tony. I miss Tony Kendall.
Yeah.
He brought my game on every night on Sky Poker. I'm not trying to push Sky Poker here, but that show that you had was fantastic to bring players on from scratch.
We had some great shows. Everything from the club to the as you said, the nightly show, the Primo, whatever it might be. Yeah, it was really good stuff. Yeah.
But it was a great show to have. You could see your hand, especially when they brought up your hand. You know, it was brilliant. And those effects, I don't know what. Could you actually see that on the actual floor? Tony was obviously to be looking at the floor.
Yeah, because it was a completely green screen studio, right? So everything was green, but you had little monitors off to the side. So yeah, he could see the the hands through a monitor.
Right.
Absolutely professional. Because I mean, I was fortunate enough to go on the show a couple of times, and yeah, I mean, you're so well treated there, and obviously because a lot of sometimes the guests and people are on there, they're completely new to this kind of whole experience of what's going on and whatever. And Tony is just such a professional at putting you at ease, and you know, it's just incredibly good.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. One of the hardest working men in poker of that, there is absolutely no doubt. Top man.
I haven't. Is he still with Sky? Is he, or is he retired or what?
I can't say with a huge degree of certainty. I haven't spoken to Tony in a little while, but certainly the last time that I spoke to him, there were two parties very much in love.
Yeah, last time I saw Tony was in Vegas. I think I said to you, I walked into the media room one morning, and there was only about two or three people in there, and there was only one of those that was working, and that was Tony.
Yeah.
And that was quite early in the morning, actually.
Well, he's probably still there from the night before.
I have a little story about Tony, if you have a few minutes.
Go for it, yeah.
It was the Sky, what was it? The Sky Poker Tour in Dublin. It was the last time they were here, about 7, 8 years ago, I think. And it was on a Saturday and Sunday. So I was working that Saturday. So I drive a coach for Dublin Airport and all the hotels in the city centre, you know. So that's what I do. That's what I did for the last 15 years, almost 16 years. And this was a Saturday morning anyway. And I pulled the coach into the stop at the airport to go into the city centre. And who's at the front of the queue? Tony Kendall, right? So I opened the door and Tony looks at me and I look at him and he says, "What are you doing here, Frank?" I said, "I'm working." Or he called my online name was Cormac, right? So that's what he called me, Cormac.
Yeah, I remember that.
Said, "Come on, does he go into the city?" I said, "Yeah, come on, Tony, get on." You know, and he sat right beside me at the front seat there to the left of the driver. You know, so we had a good chat all the way in. There wasn't many people on the bus actually, so we could really chat away. And you know, he was always interested in anything mechanical.
Oh God, you know, yeah.
And he said, "What sort of a coach is this?" And I said, "It's a Mercedes coach. And how much does it cost?" I said, "This is about €330,000 at the time." You know, he said, "What? Oh, God, how much is that windscreen and all this?" It was through everything, you know. I said, "That's windscreen about $5,000 and all this, you know." So anyway, we got it. He says, Are you playing the tournament this afternoon? It starts at 3:00. I said, "Look, I'm registered for it. I'll be in about 6:00 because I finish at 5, you know." He says, "Right, I'll see you then." So I dropped him off at the hotel and away he went anyway. Got into the casino. It was can't remember the name of the casino now, but anyway. But walks in the door. I can see it now, a double door. I opened the double door and the casino was full, right? Capacity full, right? And I walks in and Tony is straight over with a blue. He had a microphone in his hand.
Always had a microphone.
Yeah. Anyway, he comes over to me, and I had a Sky T-shirt on as well, which I got from a previous game, you know. And I walks in anyway, and he says, "Come over, and we have it. This is your table over here." Brought me over to the desk, got my chips, brought me to the table, right? And of course, it's full of players, and there's this one seat. And he pulls the chair out, sits me down. He says, "Frank, have a good game. Do you mind if I have an interview later?" You know. And all the guys at the table are looking at me with a Sky T-shirt on, you know, polo shirt. I'm sitting down anyway, and he treated me like a blooming, as if I was the world champion.
Well,
so I did well anyway. I got to the final table, got about $4,500 out of it, so which I was very happy with. And he did a few interviews as well, and I was on the Monday then. That was what it was. On the Monday then, the live show was on, right? And well, Tony, how did it go in Dublin? And all that? What did I tell you? And he went all through the whole story about meeting me on the coach and bringing them into the city and all that, and how I did in the game and all. You know, God, fantastic. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, he specialised in making people feel special. Detail was his watchword.
Yeah, brilliant, man. Yeah.
I got some breaking news for you both.
Have we lost our entire audience?
No, I don't think so. That's far from it. There's everyone's listening to everything we're saying. No, so I have some breaking Sunday roller news for you.
Oh.
As of tomorrow, we have a new 2:00 in the afternoon Sunday roller feeder. That's in the lobby and up and running. That will run. That runs Monday to Saturday. On the Saturday, we've also now got a 4:00 feeder as well in the afternoon. And on a Sunday, we've got a 1:00 feeder and that 6:00 turbo. They're all in the lobby now for you.
Wow.
And I've got one more bit of breaking news. Even you don't know about this, Des. We've got a new afternoon comp at 3:00 called the APAT Daily Splash.
Do we?
It's just a $5.50 tournament at 3:00 every day. No limit hold'em. Same structure as our Monday night squads game. Just if anyone fancies playing in the afternoon, there was a talk of people wanted to play a little bit, and some of the guys that are in other parts of the world where time difference means they can't necessarily play, and they wanted to get involved and play a little bit of APAT. So we've got a daily splash at 3:00 every single day.
Nice work, Mr. Wilshire. Very well done.
So that's all up and running now. So you'll see all those in the lobby. And those of you guys that won tournament dollars last week through squads, they should all be in your account now as well. Well, all bar one. We've got to work out what we're going to do with Mr. Potts, because apparently they couldn't find him. So I'll have to get in contact. Dave, I don't know whether he's still listening, but if he's not, I'll get in contact with you, Dave, to find out what your username is, because I think he said he was going to resurrect his account, wasn't he? So it could could be the reason why.
That's right. Yeah, that'll be it.
So we will find out, and we'll get his tournament dollars for his Turbo Millionaire win from last week.
Fantastic.
So, but everybody else should have their T-dollars in their accounts now.
I don't think we gave enough love to Dan Lowe's Turbo Millionaire efforts during the break. Did you hear it, Frank?
When was this?
Turbo Millionaire tonight.
Oh, Dan! Oh, God! Yeah, the four-poster.
So it's even to the point when I was reading the question out, I was waiting for him to say bed before I did the options, because you want to get your time quick. You want a quick time. Bed, Des. Next question. But nothing wrong with Dan. He knows stuff, and that was a strange one. Well,
I was waiting for you to repeat the questions again
and start coughing and doing all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, I was just. To be honest,
I thought you would have given him a little bit of a clue.
To be perfectly honest, he was a little unlucky in that we had this call coming in, and I ran over by about 2 or 3 minutes with Patrick. We did the timings before the show, and I went about 2 or 3 minutes over, and I thought that's fine, we can work with that. But it does mean we didn't give him as much the benefit of the doubt as we might have on another occasion. We might have coughed a bit because we have done that.
So Simon Lawler says, "Can you replay it?" What do you want? We'll get Frank to play the part of Dan Lowe. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Let's not.
Well, I haven't got a Welsh accent now. That's right.
All in a call here. Ace is all in, and our friend from Russia's made the call, and there's
we're losing Ace.
a lot What's he won that with? 2 pair, I think it was, and there was no low, if I got that right. Oh, yes, spotted it. Spot on.
We are heads up.
2 pair and no low. So we're heads up. Liam against our Russian friend, who we're going for Artem is the guess.
That could be right.
But great effort, ASAP. Decent result. And with Aces coming on the show on Sunday night, if I remember rightly.
Great.
I've had a busy day booking up lots of people onto the show for the next week or so. Only for Des to then have to rearrange stuff, but we'll work out what we're going to do there. We'll find a solution to that one.
Sometimes
that won't be a problem.
Sometimes you just got to be decisive in the moment. And I'm an hour. What is it? An hour and a half on. I think we made the right call.
Yeah, but just so you guys know, so we've got booked up now. So Jen Mason's coming on Thursday. Tom Clark is coming on Saturday. Aces coming on Sunday, and we've got James Leigh booked for next Tuesday, which I'm really looking forward to, Des. That's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, agree.
Because we are going to hopefully show a little bit of the Super High Roller Bowl final day 2 next week. So.
No, that will be very, very exciting. We are also looking to organise a cash stream that we will pre-record and run on the show with some really good analysis behind it. So there's a few.
Chips are all in.
Oh, here we go. No, they've been shared.
Yep.
So there are some really interesting things that we're working on, guys. Touch wood, we pull off some of those things.
So, Frank, how do you find playing this game when there's so many chop pots where one's won the high and one's won the low? Is it just part of the game?
I love this game. This is my favorite game because there's always action in it. That's what it. You're never bored at it. You're watching. There's always action, and you always expect maybe 50-50 chop or a 25-75. It's very seldom you win a complete the whole hand. And it's good. I think it's a terrific game. I know other players hate it. I know. One of my teammates, Joe Kern, even though he did well a couple of weeks ago, last week, I think, in this game, but he doesn't like it, And Bradford is the same. And Cody Wagner, our other teammate, he loves it as well, but he hasn't really got his game together in this series so far, But
that's huge.
Oof.
Huge. Gets the flush. Puts our friend from Russia in a massive chip lead now.
Strong position.
Liam's all in next hand.
The ace might be good. Huh?
Is he quartered him? I think he's quartered there as well, isn't he? I think. Yeah, they've chopped the low. And he's won the high. So,
not was it?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go again.
The biggest frustration with this is when they don't pull back all of his
chips.
He's
got a 9.
Yeah, and it's gone the other way, and Liam's doubles up. Yeah, what frustrates me with this is that when you get an overbet from the biggest stack, they don't pull back the overbet chips to then make it even, so you can see what's going on. So you see a player can get a double up, but you see chips going back to the other player, and it's like, well, who's won what there?
Yeah, it's very hard. It's so quick online. It's very hard to see what actually happened.
They're all in, and it's going to be the straight. It's going to scoop the lot there. I think it is. Yeah, and that's going to be that. Liam is going to finish in second place, picking up $129, and the win is going to Russia tonight. $191 up top. Very well done to everybody.
Fantastic. Well done, Liam. Well done, Artem. We think it's Artem for your win, and everybody else who final tonight. And thanks to all of you guys who were in the chat box. Unfortunately, we couldn't give you Andy Black's full attention tonight, so we thought better not do it. But we hope you enjoyed the Patrick Nally interview. I thought that was pretty intense, pretty interesting to do that. Enjoy the rest of the evening, I would say. Thanks to Frank for joining us late on. And we shall do this again on Thursday night. But remember, there's a ton of stuff happening in the lobby tomorrow. So good luck if you are indeed playing tomorrow. I think that's us, guys. I think that's a wrap.
Excellent stuff. Catch you all soon.
Night, night, all.